It is 7:05 on Monday, July 7th. This is the Londonderry Town Council meeting. Can everyone stand for the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
With that, I'll open public comment.
No public comment.
No one?
Christine Perez, 5 Wesley Drive. I know it is up to the town treasurer to appoint the assistant treasurer, but I would like to throw my names in the hat as having been a nurse for 42 years, mostly in acute care areas. I'm a stickler for details. Having been retired for 14 years, my job has been to save money, a job that my husband says I excel at. I also feel that with my appointment, it would offer no conflict of interest with the town. Thank you for the consideration.
Thank you. Anybody else for public comment? Well, sir.
Good evening. Kevin Smith, 6 King Philip Drive. Just wanted to say a few comments tonight. I noticed on the agenda later on you're going to be talking about whether or not to go down the path of pursuing impact fees for the town. And I just wanted to say how short-sighted I think of an exercise this is going to end up being. Lest anyone have amnesia, let's remind everyone why the town currently does not have impact fees. We did at one time until a little less than 15 years ago when the town was sued because it was illegally collecting impact fees at that time and illegally appropriating impact fees. There was a letter to the editor written in the local newspaper recently that talked about all of the things the impact fees were being collected for previously, things like the intersections at 28, 128, and that's true, it was illegally. And the town owed hundreds of thousands of dollars back to the developers because it was not administering its impact fee program correctly. So the first thing is if you're going to go down this path, you are going to have to hire a consultant. You're going to have to hire a really good attorney to make sure you're doing this correctly. That's going to cost all of us taxpayers money to do that. The second thing is there has to be a rational nexus between the impact fees that are being collected and growth in the town. The developers, they're already paying taxes to support all of the operational costs of the town. So the impact fees are only to support things that are related to growth. And those growth items also have to be mentioned and be part of the CIP for the town as well. You can't just say, oh, we're going to charge you impact fees to improve certain roadways in town. That's illegal. You can't do that. You can't charge new businesses impact fees for the schools because they don't impact the schools. So these items have to be specifically related to things that are in your capital improvement plan. Currently, the town has 4 items, multi-million-dollar items in its capital improvement plan. None of them are related to growth at all. But let's say one of them was. We'll pick the DPW garage because I like Dave. Even if you were collecting impact fees to support the DPW garage, those impact fees are only going to pay for a fraction of what the overall cost is of that project. They're never going to cover the entire cost of the entire project because, again, you're only charging a very small fee to all of these different developers. And so unless all of you are ready to support bonding these multi-million-dollar items in the CIP, this is going to ultimately prove to be an exercise in futility. You're going to collect the fees, they're going to earn interest in an account, and in 6 years, if the program is being run correctly, you're going to end up giving them back, the fees back to the developers, because you're required to by state statute, with the interest. So I would suggest that if you talk to the town manager, there are better ways to skin the cat here. There's TIF districts, there's exactions, there's off-site mitigation, there's other ways you can get what you want than going through the process of costing the taxpayers money and collecting fees that you're never going to spend anyway. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else public comment? Seeing none, I will close public comment. Next up is board and appointments and reappointments. First up is appointment of deputy treasurer. Tom.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, let me say that the tragedy unfolding in Texas as we speak is devastating, and our hearts ache for those young girls and first responders that have been lost. So let me switch. Let's talk about public service. It is an act of selflessness. It's a commitment to improving the community we all call home. Some of our dedicated volunteers who have given their time and energy have been severely criticized, talked down to, and disrespected in a way that's been disheartening to witness. That behavior isn't just demoralizing to those currently serving, but also discourages others from stepping forward to take on these vital roles. I want to ask my fellow citizens to value community service. Most people serve as volunteers not for the accolades, but because they find it an importance to give back. In fact, this emotion is what gets us through our most difficult times with a shared purpose. When public servants and volunteers are treated poorly, it sends a chilling message to others who might be considering serving. Why should they dedicate their time and talent if they know they'll face public criticism, disrespect, and undue scrutiny? It fractures the sense of trust and collaboration and undermines the very foundation of public service. Ultimately, it leaves the community without the critical leadership it needs to thrive. It's time we reevaluate how we treat those who answer the call. Respect, collaboration, and constructive dialogue should be the cornerstone of our interactions. Public service requires character, dedication, and willingness to put the greater good above personal gain. Londonderry is a very special place to live and raise a family. It's my hope we can work together to honor those who serve and create the environment where others are inspired to join them. As your town treasurer, I have the option to appoint a deputy treasurer for the town should I become incapacitated and unable to serve. In this capacity, I would like to appoint longtime town councilor John Farrell. Why did I select Mr. Farrell? Let me tell you about him. He has frequently helped his fellow citizens when most likely you knew nothing about it. He provided that help quietly without looking for attribution. John would often find out about Londonderry families in need of meals, heating, and electrical service. He would personally provide that service, helping to make sure that those people knew someone cared about them. But nobody ever knew. He wanted no acknowledgement. We've all come to know the treasure Chris George from Mr. Steer has been for our community. He recently had some very difficult surgery. When he opened his eyes in recovery, it was John Farrell sitting across from him, offering his quiet support. John is never looking for credit or a thank you. He just wants to help his fellow citizens. John has excellent experience and knowledge and is the perfect candidate to fulfill this role as deputy treasurer. I ask, ladies and gentlemen, that you take this next step to endorse my nomination and appoint him deputy treasurer in accordance with RSA 41:29-A. And by the way, I've asked Kathy Wagner, our former town treasurer, to make herself available tonight in case you had any questions about her appointment of Joe Paradise, our last deputy treasurer. And with that, Be happy to answer your question.
Thank you. Any questions?
Before this goes any further, I'm going to recuse myself from the vote because of the complaints John has in against me.
Okay.
So,
All right, let
but
the
if I
record
was
show
voting, I would vote no.
that Deb is recusing herself. Any questions from the council?
I do.
Go ahead.
I don't know why we haven't been provided with the information prior to the meeting of who you are going to be appointing. This is new to me, all right? I've said this before when we had our first meeting. I don't want anything sprung on me at the last minute and just say, okay, you have to make a decision tonight. We heard somebody else come up a while ago that said they were interested as well. Having this just brought on me now, I'm going to invoke council privilege and move this to the next meeting.
Before we go about that, I believe it's also the town treasurer's responsibility and privilege to choose someone. Is that correct, I believe?
It is. It's per the RSA.
For the state RSA, it is. So even though you want to invoke that, I still maintain by the state RSA that the treasurer chooses someone.
That's fine. I just
Yeah,
want to
Dan?
invoke my council
I just want to make
privilege.
sure that you understand that.
I understand that. And Ted, I also have a problem when we have an investigation going on right now with
Okay.
that individual. So I guess I'd like to probably consult with legal and see where we stand with that as well.
Can I say something?
You can. Let me also say that I have consulted with legal,
Yep.
and there's no conflict of interest, and so that's already been vetted.
Thanks.
Dan does have his right, though,
Yep.
to do that. But Kathy, please, yes.
Being the town treasurer for over 18 years, I'm kind of disappointed that you're stating that this is the first time you're hearing about John. We were all down here the night all the hoopla started, knowing that that was coming up. So, Dan, maybe you need to recuse yourself too, because you got a little bit of bias on John as well. But the deputy treasurer just needs to be qualified. They serve. The only way a person can be the deputy treasurer is if it's appointed by the treasurer, not you, the treasurer. They have the option to not appoint anybody if it is a courtesy that the treasurer comes down and says, I'd like to appoint this person as my treasurer, and I'm giving you notice that as my deputy treasurer, and I'm giving you notice that's who I'd like. You don't have the right to strong arm the treasurer into who you want either.
I'm not strong-arming anybody.
But that's
I
my
just wa-
point.
I just
You
want more
don't have the
information.
right as a council to tell the treasurer who they want as a deputy treasurer. I have never seen. Shut up, Christine.
Hold on, guys. It's not a public hearing. Tom asked if she could speak, and I honored it. So,
Yes, because I'm trying to speak. Please, this is in Parliament. So my point is, it's up to the deputy treasurer to appoint somebody, and it's a courtesy for them to come up in front of you. It doesn't need a vote; it's approval. You can do it by consensus. So, I just wanted to let you know that, and that was how it was always done in the past. When I selected Joe, I came down, I said, I have Joe Paradise as my treasurer. The council was like, fine, thank you for notifying us. We're okay with this. The consensus is there. What I'm afraid of is when I'm watching here is there is just so much anger in this room.
thank you, Kathy. Dan does have his right. He's invoking his council privilege, so we will put this off to the next meeting. Appointment of Senior Resources Committee. I'll accept a motion to accept the resignation.
So I move to accept the resignation of Jeffrey Mintz from the Senior Resources Committee under Title V, Chapter 3, Section 9A of the Municipal Code.
Second.
Second, okay. I have a motion from Sean, second from Dan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes in the affirmative. Thank you for your service. Next up, we have what's it? Was it?
Appointment to Senior Resource
Yep.
Committee.
Appointments to the Senior Resource Committee. And the first person I have is Myrtle Allen, right? Yes, I have Myrtle Allen.
I don't know if Ms. Allen could be here today.
Okay.
I will tell you that she has been attending the Senior Resource Committee meetings leading up to this, and she expressed to me that she is very interested in the position.
Okay.
One of the positions.
We also have Mary Ann Ryan. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Good.
Mary Ann Ryan, 24 King Henry Drive. And I saw an article in the local paper that there was an issue with attendance at the Senior Resource Committee meetings, and I attended one of the meetings and found a very good working group. I've had several careers in my lifetime, did some volunteer work, but since I'm retired and obviously a senior, I thought perhaps I could make a contribution to this committee.
Excellent. Any questions from the council?
Nope.
All right. If I am correct, by us accepting the resignation, we have 2 openings, correct?
Yes, that is correct. You
Okay.
have the full position, the 1-year full member position, which expires the end of this year.
Okay.
And then you have a 3-year alternate position, which expires the end of December 2027.
So we've got,
Can we ask Mary Ann what she would prefer?
absolutely.
Mary Ann,
Mary Ann, Dan has one question for you.
would you prefer the 1 year or the 3-year term?
Oh, let's be positive. I'll go for the 3-year.
All right.
So that's the alternate one.
So I'll make a motion that we appoint Mary Ann to the full member 3-year position.
It's alternate, right?
3-year alternate.
Yeah, 3-year alternate.
Oh, 3-year alternate?
Yep.
Okay, 3-year alternate position.
I'll second that.
Ooh. Motion by Dan, second by Ted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes in the affirmative.
I'll
Now
make,
we're still, okay.
I'll make a motion to appoint Myrtle Allen as a full member to fill in that 1-year position.
Motion by Dan,
Second.
second by Ted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes in the affirmative.
And Kirsten, just for clarification for those members, when do these terms expire?
So the 1-year position expires December 31st, 2025. Of course, the person who's in that position is welcome to reapply when they get posted in September. And the 3-year alternate position expires December 31st, 2027. And alternates are always welcome to apply for full member positions if they come up.
And
And Mary
Kirsten,
Ann, don't forget to see the clerk.
so Kirsten, that
Just
gives
see the
them,
clerk.
Be sworn in.
Be sworn in.
Kirsten, that gives them a full committee now, right? No vacant
That is
position.
correct. There's a full committee with no vacancies now.
Thank you.
yes.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, appointments to the Zoning Board of Adjustment. Our first appointment is Bob Robichek. How are you, sir?
I'm great.
Do you want to say
I'm on a
anything?
zoning board now. I've been an alternate since 2023. I'm an alternate member. I've been involved in zoning and zoning boards for over 25 years in multiple communities. I'm a licensed architect in 4 states right now. I used to be 7. 45 years of practice. My practice is mostly municipal projects, police, fire, EMS, town halls. I don't have a conflict of interest with doing housing and things like that. And I have, 4 or 5 months left on the term till December. And that's it. So,
Any questions for Bob?
No, I see you at the ZBA meetings all the time.
yeah.
So if he's moving to the full-time,
Yep.
right, that means there's 2 alternate positions
We
now?
didn't.
So you
I
haven't,
just want to be
Yeah.
confused.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's 3 people for 1 full-time member and 1 3-year alternate.
And one person for the 3-year-old.
Yeah, so one for each.
Right, my term.
Sean.
Like my term is up in December. I'll have to re-up.
Yep.
So
Gotcha.
Any questions for Bob?
Nope.
All right, now, thank you.
All right, thank you, Bob. So do we want to
Get the other interviews.
do that too? Okay. So next up is John Grennan.
Good evening.
You, sir?
My name is John Grennan. I live at 14 Jewel Court. I've been a resident here for coming up on 18 years next month. Volunteered in a whole bunch of capacities on the sports side, booster club side, in the community. I saw the vacancies that you had on a few boards, filled out the talent bank form, and had some communications with Town Hall about the ZBA. Super interested in it.
That's rare, so thank you.
Yeah, have a background on the development side right now. Did 20 years as a state employee in Massachusetts, and the quasi-judicial aspect of it, and the I guess the interpretation and the non-political nature of the board. Not that there's anything wrong with the political nature, but was certainly attractive to me, and just looking to give back to the town. I've been very fortunate. My family's been very fortunate. For 18 years, pretty much every resource this town has had to offer, we've benefited from. So just looking to give back in any way possible. So filled out the talent bank form and got a telephone call.
Excellent. Any questions for John? John, I just have one quick question.
Sure.
You checked off one meeting a month. If they have to have two, are you good with
Yeah,
that?
positively.
Okay, just want to make sure.
I saw the ZBA vacancy,
Yeah.
and then I saw they met once a month, so I checked that
Yeah,
off. But
I know sometimes they have an extra one.
nope, wide open.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Christine. Yeah. Next up, Christine Perez.
Christine Perez, 5 Wesley Drive. I've been extremely active at the state level with the new push by 2 groups to put state zoning in, which would directly affect Londonderry. And because of that, if these zoning laws, they went to go throughout the state, and we all know one doesn't fit all. Because of this, as well as the large number of building going on within the town, I've spent many, many hours looking at our particular zoning requirements here and seeing how, if some of these zoning bills are passed at the state, how they would directly impact us here in town. I know that Londonderry is very different than some of the small towns that these 2 groups are trying to push for it to be. So I thought that if I was an alternate on the zoning board, not only could I be directly involved in the zoning going on here within the town, but I could also provide a link between the town zoning and what is happening at the state level.
Any questions for Christine? Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Robert, I'm going to mess up your name by accident, sir. Robochek, thank you, for the full-time position, and John Grennan for the alternate position.
I'll second that.
Motion by Ted, second by Sean. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Chair votes in the affirmative. If
I make a motion to appoint Christine to finish Rob's.
is there
There's
Yeah.
not a third spot.
There's not a third spot.
There isn't?
a third spot?
But Rob just
So,
got moved up from
If
alternate to...
you chose to appoint Bob Robichuk, which you have, to a
Yep.
full member position, his alternate seat immediately becomes vacant,
Yep.
and you can opt to fill that
Okay.
if you would like to.
I have a motion by Dan,
Second.
second by Deb. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes in the affirmative.
Mr. Chair, if you don't mind, can we just
Confused.
clarify the terms again so they understand?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm a little confused here.
So Bob Robichuk, when you appointed him to the full member position, that's the term expiring December 31st, 2025. So it's for the remainder of this year. Again, like previously stated, Mr. Robichuk is welcome to apply. to reapply for that position in September. The alternate position, which was posted, to which you nominated and approved John Grennan, that's a 3-year alternate member position with a term expiring December 31st, 2027. The position that became vacant, based upon you moving Bob Robichek into the full position, is a 1-year alternate position expiring December 2025. December 31st, 2025.
Thank you.
And that is the one that you nominated Christine Perez for.
Any questions?
Nope. Now we have a full board.
You again have a full board on the ZBA, yes, that is
Thank you.
correct.
All right, next up is confirmation of Patrick Cheatham as an alternate to the Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission. Patrick here.
Patrick's not here. He did his interview in front of the planning board. The way the Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission works is that it is the planning board selects the appointee, and then it's up to the select board, in this case you, to confirm that appointment.
Okay. Any questions from the council?
No.
I'll make that motion to appoint him.
Motion by
Patrick
Dan.
Cheatham.
Second.
Second by Ted. I heard Ted first. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes in the affirmative. We have a resignation of Kristen Engel from the Heritage Commission. I will accept a motion to accept her resignation.
So moved.
Motion by Ted, second by Deb. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes in the affirmative. Thank you for your service. We have a resignation of Karen Riddle from Beautified Londonderry. I'll accept the motion to accept her resignation.
So moved.
Motion by Ted, second by Sean. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes in the affirmative. Thank you for your service.
Will these be posted, these two positions?
Yes, they will post. I need to work on what day they're going to post to coincide with the new deadlines, but they will post.
Okay. Just wondering.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we have a public hearing to receive public input to discuss the building permit for a Class 6 road on Jacks Bridge Road.
Motion to open the public hearing.
Motion by Ted, second by Sean. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes in the affirmative.
Mr. Chair, if you don't mind, I'll do a brief
Absolutely, please.
introduction prior to the applicant presenting. So, again, the request before you this evening is for a building permit on a Class 6 road, that being 38 Jacks Bridge Road. This is a statutory process that we're following. So the applicant has already gone to the planning board for a recommendation. That recommendation is provided to the town council. The planning board has provided a favorable recommendation with respect to this building permit request. And there are some conditions that the planning board has recommended along with that approval of the permit as well. It's my understanding that the applicant has a presentation for you this evening to talk about those conditions and the permit itself and the request itself. But ultimately, the request of the council is to make a decision on the issuance of that building permit. And should you deem any conditions associated with that, then you should make that clear in your motion as well.
Thank you. Gentlemen?
Hi, I'm Russ Goldman. I'm the applicant from Riverdale in Manchester. And I have Bob Baskerville who's going to represent me tonight to discuss some of the issues that we went through.
Excellent.
Good evening. I'm with Bedford Design Consultants. I'm a civil engineer. And as was said, we are here to seek a building permit on Jacks Bridge Road. It's an extension of Page Road. The council, some of you here may remember, in 2004, part of Jacks Bridge Road was discontinued. So you've got Jacks Bridge Road in the industrial park, ends at the cul-de-sac, then it doesn't exist for a while. And then there's a section of it on the end of Page Road. The names never got changed. Exactly where that switches, I haven't seen a document. It was said that it ends at a small barn that's on Page Road. I'm not really sure where that ends. With that said, just real quickly, we want to build one house at 38 Jacks Bridge Road. I think it's 8 acres or 12 acres? 8 acres.
Yep.
And we will do a full survey of the lot, of the road going in, wetland flags, wetland permit, septic system design,
We propose a one-lane, 15-foot wide gravel road, full structural requirements to carry fire trucks, a couple of turnarounds, and I can do that first. So you see the plan up on the screen now. Everything in gray is what we propose to do. We propose to build a 15-foot wide road starting at the end of the current gravel road, extending up Jack's Bridge Road. Those two dark gray, almost black areas are areas where we put widened areas so if people want to pass, they can. So we put them at turns, so if you see somebody coming, you have a spot to pull over and let somebody pass. We're only proposing one house, so there shouldn't be a whole lot of head-on traffic on the road. In looking at the staff and the planning board recommendations, we have a few issues that we would like to discuss. First, they suggested that we not only do this survey, but we survey the road all the way back to the intersection of Lucas Road. There was a 2004 survey done by Hayner Swanson when they did the industrial park, and a copy of that is in your package. So it seems unnecessary to redo a survey that's already done. It's just an expense, and the road is already there. Second part's more important. During final deliberations in the motion, the fire department wanted a turnaround for the fire truck every 1,200 feet. During deliberation, somebody made a motion that 1,200 feet is to be measured by the location where Page Road turns to Jack's Bridge Road. It's a name change, but there's nothing from an engineering standpoint that matters at all. I'm not exactly sure where that spot is or how to find it, whether it can be defined strongly. If it's where it was mentioned at the meeting, it might be, we might have 1,300 feet from that spot. Well, if I need to go 1,200 feet, and the abutters have already said they will not give me an easement to do a turnaround, it becomes an impossible condition. My road is about 1,000 feet long that I'm building to my property, and then we have a hammerhead turnaround designed so that a fire truck can make the turn and leave. So it's less than 1,200 feet from the end of the current road. I have a problem with the arbitrary of wherever the name change happens to be. We're fine doing a turnaround, but we can't do it until we get to our property. Third item is the fire department recommendations. They said they want 12-foot widths per travel lane. But it didn't say whether you do one travel lane or two, and the planning board bounced that around. There was an uncertainty. Do we do one lane or two? Well, there's no place on the current Class 6 road, portion of Page Road, that's more than 24 feet wide. And I don't think Lucas Road or Page Road on the other side of Lucas are anywhere near that width. So we just want to clarify that it's not a two-lane road. We'll do a 15-foot wide road. What NFPA requires is 15-foot wide structural base. But then you clear all the vegetation for 20 feet and you keep it cleared. You maintain it that. There's also a height requirement, so you clear all the vegetation. We'll clear more than that because I'll have to do full drainage calcs for John Trotter as part of my design, as part of my wetland permit for the state. So we're proposing one 15-foot wide road with those extra widths there and a full hammerhead at the end. We feel that is a fully acceptable, fully NFPA approved road. Last item I want to mention is he asked us to say to a 6% slope. Being that this is an existing road, there's a short stretch, just easier to point at this. It's a short stretch right past the barn here that's about 7%. Take quite a bit of work to try to bring it down. This right-of-way is a very old road, so there wasn't a layout, there wasn't a subdivision plan, there wasn't a deed. So it's known as a variable width road. Roughly speaking, we would call it a two-rod road, about 33 feet wide. But there's spots where it's as narrow as 29 feet, and spots where it looks as wide as 45 feet. Getting a two-lane, 24-foot road in a variable width right away becomes extraordinarily difficult.
So you're talking this area right
Yes, that stretch right there is about 7%. And you do a very good job of that. And then at the very end, right before our property. Yep, perfect. Going to the left a little bit. It's about 10%. It's over 10% there. We plan to cut it. Yeah, just up to 100 feet worth. So we plan to cut a little bit off the top. We're going to fill a little bit on our property. We'll be under 10%, but for a short stretch, we need to be more than 6%. In these,
There'll be no turnarounds available here.
Nope,
You're
all that
talking
property.
Here for the fire trucks, the Hammerhead.
Correct. There are, I believe, 3 houses and 2 barns on the Class 6 portion of Page Road. You know, and they all have their driveways. But I can't, all of them have stated at the last meeting that they will not grant me an easement to build a turnaround for fire protection in that stretch. The question is, where's the 1,200-foot start? We have it starting from the last driveway. That barn there is put in after 2004. I didn't look up the year with me right now. So we're looking going basically from that barn to our property. We can do the 1,200 feet. What's not clear in the fire department regulations is where does the 1,200 feet start? The planning board at the last minute said, well, let's start it at where the name changes from Page Jacks Bridge. And one thing that is talked about as a condition of approval that, well, it makes no sense to have a short stretch of Jacks Bridge Road here when everybody else is going to go down through the industrial park. So if we get this approved, we'll go to the fire department and change the address to a Page Road address. This road name change gets confusing. But right now, someplace in there, it changes from Page Road to Old Jacks Bridge Road. And they started at the 1,200 feet at that spot. I don't know where that spot is. I don't know if a document exists that specifically says it starts here. Might be someplace in the history. But from an engineering standpoint, it's an immaterial location. It doesn't affect any of my engineering or access issues to get there. So I can build my turnaround at the beginning of my property. I just cannot do it anyplace else. So to require it to be done in front of that says, yes, you can have your building permit, but here's an impossible condition.
So where are you proposing to put the turnaround?
Our property starts right here.
Right here.
Yep. So we will go far enough here where a fire truck can fully go past the driveway.
Yep.
He backs in here, he can pull out and go out this way. So the turnaround is right here. We started 0 plus 0, 0 here, we're at 11 plus 0, 0 here. So that is just at a little less than 1,200 feet to the center of the turnaround. So again, 4 issues. This is the survey issue. It's just a matter of cost. It's already a survey done. The 1,200-foot turnaround, we'll do a turnaround, but this is a question of where does my 1,200 feet start from. That's the only location we can do a turnaround, which is less than 1,200 feet from the last driveway, from the barn. Third issue is that it's a 15-foot wide road with turnout so people can pass. Fourth issue is for short lengths, we would exceed the 6%. The 6% comes from subdivision regulations. We're in a weird spot. We're not proposing a subdivision. NFPA says you can go up to 10%. What the fire chief stated in his firm was that there's an NFPA requirement, 1141. I went out and bought this after the planning board meeting, just to see what regulation do they talk about. They allow a 10% or more, but they allow a 10% grade, but that's more than Town of Londonderry standards. So I'm in between the two standards. So I'd like to have slightly steeper regulations for very short periods. But again, the only person who will be using that road is whoever buys the house from my client, and he will sign a full, what's the name of it, the waiver requirement,
A liability waiver, which
Liability
essentially
waiver.
states that you're acknowledging emergency personnel cannot access your property,
and that the town has no,
and that the town is not liable for that.
to maintain our road in any case. So we're applying for one house lot. We will do the liability waiver. So that is our request for the evening. I'd be glad to answer any questions you have.
Any questions from the council?
I got tons of them.
Dan, go ahead.
It's a public hearing, don't we hear from the?
Yeah, I'll bring it back to the council first, and we'll bring it to public, yep.
I'd like to hear from the fire department on this because Wilson Road, they required them to do a 20-foot for the fire trucks, is what I heard. So, Brian, if you could clarify that?
Good evening. Brian Johnson, Division Chief of Fire Prevention. Just like to clarify one thing that the applicant was talking about. There's a lot of recommendations from the fire department. None of these are recommendations. These are all coming out of state fire code. These are NFPA requirements, not recommendations. So under NFPA, what we do with Wilson Road is NFPA 1, which is adopted by the state of New Hampshire, state fire code, specifically says approved fire apparatus access roads shall be provided for every facility, building, or portion of a building hereafter constructed or relocated. Access to the building, a fire apparatus access road shall extend to within 50 feet of at least one exterior door that can be opened from the outside and provide access to the interior of the building. The dimensions of that state fire access road shall have an unobstructed width of not less than 20 feet. So that's where Wilson Road, because it's a one-lane road, we went with the 20-foot wide road. NFPA 1141, which he has a copy of, specifically states roadways shall have a minimum clear width of 12 feet for each lane of travel, excluding shoulders and parking. So unless that's a one-way road, which Wilson Road is, when he's talking about going down, the 12-foot lane, that's fine if it's a one-way street. But even that, NFPA requires the 20-foot wide road. So that's where these numbers are coming from.
So,
Could I just point something out? I just think it's important for everyone to understand. Wilson Road in this scenario is not an apples-to-apples comparison. This is a Class 6 road. I just want to make sure everyone in the room understands that. This is a Class 6 road. It follows different requirements per the statutory process.
So Brian, if there was a fire out there, okay, and you had your ladder truck out there, 15 feet, does that give you enough room to set the fire truck up?
No, our aerial is 18 feet wide set up.
So you would not be able to set that up there?
Correct.
Okay. I want the fire department's opinion about having a turnaround here, nothing here until you get to here. Because I'm looking at this and my concern, I guess I have to use the mic. My concern is you go down this road and one of your trucks gets stuck, all right, and then the other one gets stuck. How are you going to get these things out of here?
Well, and that's why
There's no way to turn around.
If I was looking at this as a site plan review,
Yeah.
I would consider the 1,200 feet starting at the last point that we could turn around, which would be Lucas. So starting there is where I would make my recommendations for every 1,200 feet having a turnaround.
Okay. I look at the agreement, the release form, and on the release form on number 5, it says that the road to be the width not less than 20 feet. This is what I'm looking at. I don't know if you guys, so now we're talking a 15-foot road versus a 20-foot road.
May I interject here? If you look at that sentence,
Yeah.
it says you clear the road to 20 feet and maintain it. But then there's the next sentence is that you will pave the road or build the road to a smaller. So the 20-foot road, we're proposing a driveway, by the way, not a road. The 20 feet is how much you have to clear the vegetation. And that's all that one sentence says that you just brought about. So there's 20 feet cleared. Well, how much of that has to be gravel? 15 feet, 18 feet? We can do that. And I think the 18 feet you're talking about is where you set up your ladder truck.
All right, if I'm reading this, it says road to a width of not less than 20 feet and to repair and maintain the traveled portion blank of road in a good and passable condition. That's what I'm reading. I'm reading 20 feet. I went up there today. I'm not familiar with Jack's Bridge. I know Jack's Bridge, and I was trying to find this lot, and had a hard time finding it, but I did drive up there. The entire driveway up there, the dirt driveway, is 20 feet. And then you get up to that Jack's Bridge, where it, turns into a little cow pasture kind of road. But prior to that, it's all 20 feet. And it's being maintained by those individuals. So I guess my concern is if we have currently that dirt road is 20 feet, I think it should continue to be 20 feet all the way up. Especially if we're talking about fire truck, you say, you put your staging out, it's 18 feet. All right? Don't want to go on the edge and end up with our trucks being stuck there, and then we don't have our trucks available. So this is a 7.95 acre lot. Is there only going to be one house there, or are you looking to possibly subdivide this property into more lots?
We're not planning on changing this to a Class 5 road, so there's no possibility of subdividing.
Okay.
So it'll just be a single-family house lot.
Okay. I also was looking at the staff recommendations on the fire department. Now, Brian, it says that recommended sprinkler system. Why just recommend it? Why wouldn't we insist, since it's so far out?
State of New Hampshire, we cannot require residential sprinklers in single-family homes.
Okay. All right. That's it for now. Sorry.
Any other questions from the council? Open to public.
Yes. How far away will how long will the driveway be, and how far away will the house be from the road? Because I'm not seeing it on the map that you're providing.
Correct. We haven't done a house layout and a house design yet. There's a nice ridge going up through the center of the property. And it starts about here and goes back this way. So if that's 1,000 feet, I'm guessing 300 to 400 feet a driveway from the end of this in. And then I think state requirements require that the fire truck also be able to turn around once I get up to the house.
How long will the driveway be from the road to the house?
I would say less than 400 feet.
No, the width. The
Oh, the
width of
width.
this driveway. Will the width of this driveway from the road that you're proposing be to the house? Will that be able to handle a fire truck?
I don't think Londonderry has any requirements. Most people do 12 to 14 feet.
I just want to make sure, because I guess another question for our fire department is, how far can our hoses go? Would we be able to make it to this house if it's that far away from the road?
It depends on the width of the driveway. I would still go back to NFPA 1, where it says they have to provide us a 20-foot wide road, fire access road, to within 50 feet of a door of that structure. If they're within 50 feet of that structure, absolutely our hoses can reach them. 300 to 400 feet, I'd refer to Chief Heinrich on that. I mean, our normal hose lays, are the hand lines that you normally see going into a building. Those aren't going to reach that, but there are different options available.
We're okay with a 20-foot wide driveway up to within 50 feet of the house.
Does that appease our fire department?
Is it a driveway or a road?
Oh, we're going to hold that. There's going to be a public comment in a minute.
So the question is, is the code acceptable for 20 feet for a driveway? Yes. It's not our opinion. These are fire codes. These are the minimum fire codes. These are not the maximum. These are the floor. These are where there's been history of problems, and the codes address those problems by trying to make future development safe. So 20 feet is more than adequate for a driveway.
So I just want to jump on what Ted said about the fire hose, okay? And I started thinking, all right, we have tankers, correct?
We have
when
a
we have a
tanker.
fire.
One tanker. We have one.
Okay, we have a tanker. I don't know how this is going to be possible, how to get these trucks in there if there was a fire and a tanker had to back out of there to go refill, waiting for another tanker. If you had some areas that they could, turn around, it might work. I see this as a
That's
nightmare
where a
for
lot
the.
of these, the chief said, a lot of these codes came from issues that arose like items like this.
Correct.
If you have a road that is 12 feet wide each lane, one tanker could be going out while another tanker is going in. If you have something 15 foot wide, if one tanker's going out, the other tanker's going to have to wait until that one's out before the next one can come in. So now, and if that tanker's gone, that's our water source.
I guess. Thanks, Ted, for bringing that up. I'm just looking at this, okay? And tanker pulls in over here, all right? Now he has to back all the way down this road because he might have another truck over here. Now he can't get access to turn around. That's my issue with it at this point.
Any other comments from the council?
I have a couple of
Good.
questions.
Yeah, please.
Just clarification. I guess it would be towards Kelly. Kelly, how many Class 6 roads are there in the town of New Hampshire? In the town of Londonderry, not New Hampshire. I'm sorry.
So I don't have a total number, but there's a handful. Brewster Road is an example of one. However, that is handled a little bit differently than this scenario because the town does seasonally maintain a portion of that road. I think the other example that we discussed was it Fir at one point?
Fir and
Sorry, with the what?
Greeley are two others that we've had.
Fir and Greenlee are two others.
Okay.
So I think that
My
brings us to
point
around
is,
three.
recently, has anyone come to want to build on these roads and we've allowed them to, or we've made them make the roads to our?
So the most recent example that I'm aware of would be the other property owners on this road, which would be the Varani family.
Okay. And I do remember one on Brewster Road, Darlene and her son, they wanted to subdivide, and I think we told them they had to fix the road, widen the road so that a truck could, and even if they signed this, it was like you couldn't do it.
And we have.
I mean, I want to know if I'm remembering this right or not. That's what I'm asking, because I kind of remember it.
So I don't recall that specific case, but based on what I've seen historically that the town staff and planning board has recommended, these are the conditions that we've been consistent with
Okay.
when we have to go through this process.
Okay, so if we changed from this, we would be setting precedent from the past. We've normally stuck to our guns, and if we changed, we would be setting a precedent that we would be allowing this to happen.
So I wouldn't necessarily say you're setting a precedent. I think it's well within the council's purview to consider each of these cases on a case-by-case basis and determine which conditions are appropriate. That's your role.
Okay.
If any conditions, right?
Right.
So one of the things that you should be weighing, which you're currently deliberating, are what conditions are not appropriate in this specific example.
And I think one of those conditions is really important, is this waiver. And the idea that the fire department won't respond is something that I struggle with. And I could not tell my people not to respond. And as a result, I can't. Every second that we delay, the fire gets bigger, the heart attack gets worse, because it's not always a fire that we're responding to. So all of those tie into this reason for the road to be a road, and the reason for us to have access, and for the reason to be maintained. I don't believe this road's going to be maintained in any regular fashion, meaning that is it going to be plowed during the snowstorm every 2 inches, like a town road, or any other circumstance like that. But saying that we're not going to respond to somebody in a time of need, I struggle with that. And that's my biggest concern. And I want you to understand that if we do, when we do respond, there might be, the fire truck might get stuck off the side of the road. The fire truck might be damaged, the property might be damaged, but it is something that is hard for me to tell my people that they can't respond to somebody in need. And we're setting up a situation where that could happen.
I think one issue that I have is that you said, Chief, you want to respond. All right, there's a fire. You're gonna respond.
A fire or medical.
If you don't respond,
if the police respond for a domestic,
right,
they're responding. I mean, this is a blanket policy that we're not going to provide emergency service,
right,
in an emergent manner, if I'm not incorrect.
And you would need to respond because if nobody goes to the fire, it's going to spread into, the brush and everything else.
But yeah.
So generally the point of a waiver document isn't to say you should not respond. The point of a waiver document is to prevent liability for the town because there's risk incurred on a Class 6 road by building or doing anything. And that's part of the process that we do in the town when we go through a Class 6 road, is to go through this process and make it as much as possible, but there's still an inherent risk just because it's a Class 6 road. The risk is assumed by the applicant for liability purposes, not so to say you should not respond, but to say if something would go wrong, that's on the applicant, not on the fire department, where we can get sued as a town for saying you didn't provide the services you should have, or you should have done X, X, and X. We're not liable, but I think it would be extreme to think that any fire department or police, for that matter, would not respond to anything. So that's not the intent of the waiver.
Mm-hmm. But without the road being maintained, it will be challenging.
Yeah.
I guess I also have an issue that I don't know if the current landowner will hold on to the property, or if in the future they may ever sell the property, if that new landowner will understand.
Oh, they plan to sell that. They are planning to sell this. This is built on spec,
Okay.
right?
Well, either that new landowner or another landowner who may then own the property in the future may fully understand this document. And if they need help or assistance in the future, they may not understand that if I'm calling 911, they may or may not be coming or may not be liable if something happens.
So it is required to be recorded with the deed, so they would be made aware at the time of the land transaction.
This is true, but a lot of things are signed at transactions. A lot of people don't understand their documents. So I worry that if someone needs assistance or aid and we can't get to them.
And I would just encourage you to focus on what's before you now and not make a decision based on a future, a potential future change. The request before you is for a single-family building on this lot, and they're following the statutory process, which requires them to come before you for approval of that.
I think maybe Dave Wally can answer this question. So as far as like safety on a Class 6 compared to a regular road, like ice, mud, things like that, how does it affect the road differently than a regular road? I mean, what are the issues that might pop up that could cause some sort of safety concerns with this road not being a real road? If you don't mind, Dave, I'm sorry.
I think I understand the question. I haven't really reviewed this plan.
It's just the comparisons of the roads and weather climate changes and.
Well, probably on a road this long, if it's going to be paved or gravel.
Gravel.
Right. So gravel would be my biggest concern. Would be mud season. That would be a problem where large apparatus would struggle to get out there. But the fire department, they have other methods of getting to places they need to be, and that'd be up to them to figure it out. But and then brush every year has to be cut back. It seems like it's a long distance at 1,200 feet.
Yes.
So that's a lot to take for a property owner, but there's liability at play, so it'd be on the owner.
Right, so there is a kind of a big difference between a regular road and a Class 6 road, and when it comes to weather and being able to get through it.
Tremendous. I mean, trees down, things of that nature, and that's why we have the standards we have for the town roads that we do
Right.
in the right-of-ways and whatnot. So year-round maintenance, it's year-round, obviously. It's constant. So
Right.
that'd be on the property owner.
All right, thank you, Dave.
Yep.
Any other questions for council? I'll open up to the public. It's a public hearing. Anyone wanted to?
You mean one of the slides is signed or everyone's, I think they go.
So I am an abutter to this property, and I guess my number one question, is this a driveway or a road? Because one breath you're saying driveway, one breath you're saying road. I don't understand, because when we were at the planning board, they were talking about a driveway. I don't understand how a driveway can be placed on a public right-of-way. Because it's the town's, who maintains it? Is it the town's responsibility because it's a public right-of-way? Is it the homeowner that has a driveway on a public right-of-way? Is that deeded? I don't understand that logic right there. And there are 3 other parcels that abut this, that if this goes in, those 3 parcels should have the same access rights as this parcel does, because they're on a Class 6 road. So there won't just be one house going back and forth. There could be 4 potential houses going back and forth. When we built our house on that road, we had to build it to 20 feet. It took us probably 3 years to get through the town to actually allow us to build it. And we had to have 100 feet, we had to prove we had 150 feet frontage that we had to build before we could build our house. So hopefully that turnaround for that driveway has another 150 feet that goes in front of that lot before they put that driveway in. And from Lucas Road to that driveway, it's probably 2,200 feet. So you go 2,200 feet without any other access out. For us, it's fine. Ours is about 1,000 feet. We maintain the road. It's just family that lives there. And we did sign a disclosure with the town, but my mother, when she was ill, had fallen a couple of times in the highway department, and the police department was able to get up there, and the fire department was able to get up there, and they did a wonderful job. But we have turnarounds everywhere going into our site. And we maintain our site probably better than the town does on...
We just get your name and address for the record.
Pardon me?
Just get your name and address for the record.
Margarita Varani. And I'm in
Thank
the
you.
real estate industry, and I'll tell you what, if we sell, or whoever sells that piece of that house, and they have to tell them that they have to maintain a 2,000-foot road to get to their access, because we may or may not maintain our road, and it's up to us. So whoever buys that is not only going to have to maintain their 1,000 feet or 1,200 feet, they're also going to have to maintain our road if we decide not to maintain it. And that's probably 2,200 feet. We had to build a 20-foot road. So, and you can pass 2 ways. And I don't know, Johnny, do you have anything that you'd like to comment on that?
How are you, sir?
Yeah, hello. Giovanni Varani, 73 Page Road. And yeah, my first point, which Margarita sort of made, was that initially when they were coming to the planning board, they were talking about a driveway, a 16-foot wide driveway. And a driveway is something that is used on a private land to access a public road. So, and that's defined by the state of New Hampshire. So the fire department is recommending a 20-foot each way with 2 feet of drainage on either side. That's 24 feet. They're looking for relief from that. With regards to the indemnification, you can sign all the indemnifications in the world, but I don't think they're going to stand up in the court of law when something royally goes wrong over here. So you're going to own it one way or the other. My opinion, but where they're showing the road here on this map too, They show the barn. The fire department at the planning board suggested that this, and Brian actually said it, that for any subdivision, there's always a maximum length allowed of 1,200 feet. Because the way I understood it, that's as long as your hose can go, if there was a tree to fall down. But anyhow, in our subdivision rules, you can't go beyond 1,200 feet without having another access road, like a loop road or something that can get you out in a different direction. Where they're showing that road right here, the fire department wanted it all the way back. They wanted to measure it all the way back to Lucas and Page, because you can get out either Lucas or you can get out either Page, right? At the planning board hearing, they said, well, there's driveways there on private citizens' yards that let's measure it from the small barn. That's the large barn. The small barn is further down the road, okay? So that isn't even an accurate map. But honestly, Margarita mentioned it, if you went to that lot from Lucas and Page, it's like 2,700 feet, linear feet of road. And again, I don't understand how they can put a driveway over a public right-of-way. So, the engineer, Bob, mentioned Jack Bridge Road, and we should just conveniently call it Page Road for the sake of convenience. I believe that's because Jack's Bridge Road was discontinued. So by labeling it Page Road, they don't have to go through one more step of the process and get it recontinued, or whatever the status would be. And as Margarita was saying too, there's not just one house out here. It's going to be several permits after this once that gets approved. It's never been allowed to be approved. As a matter of fact, I went for a small subdivision at the corner of Page Road and Lucas Road for 5 lots. The town at that point required me to build the road from that lot of corner of Lucas and Page all the way back out to Route 28 to town specs to get it subdivided. Now I was asking for a subdivision versus a building permit, but and many, actually all those houses too, are within, prior to this on Page Road, are within 1,200 feet of that Lucas Page Road intersection. So I strongly suggest, and I don't know, Kelly can show you on the GIS map too if she cares to. I strongly suggest you shouldn't take it from that point. I think you should apply the fire department's standards from Lucas and Page. Does that make sense? I mean, do you understand where I'm coming from that perspective? It's a lot of work living on that road. We salt our own road. We bring in our own gravel. We all have tractors with graders. We do a good job at it, but your average person buying a house that comes from away, that's going to buy this house, is not going to understand that. Good luck getting insurance on the house. And my wife's a mortgage officer, so she can talk to the difficulties that they're going to have financing the house too. So in all situations, issuing a building permit on this property, it's not a good decision. It's going to cause all sorts of issues. And I firmly believe too that when you're talking about that road that enters into the corner of their lot, well, isn't lot standards 150 feet of road frontage? It is. 1 acre minimum, 150 feet of road frontage. So shouldn't they be building the road 100 and creating 150 feet of road frontage to the fire department's recommended specs? Not just entering it there and calling it a cul-de-sac? So,
I got a question for you. Is this where the barn is?
no. The barn's
Go to your
here, but if Kelly would bring up the GIS map, can you do that?
And who owns this road? Is it a town-owned road?
It's a right-of-way maintained, it's owned by the town.
It's owned by the town.
And just to clarify a point, the remaining parcels beyond this property would be subject to the same process that we're going through this evening.
Right, but
And
now
the-
you set a precedent.
You went through the same process for your properties, so now we're doing this one, and then, again, those remaining lots would be subject to the same. And the matter of
least one
the
at a time.
standards that need to be applied with respect to lot and frontage requirements, those are applied to properties on a class 5 or better road. In this instance, we're talking about a class 6 road, which is what triggers this statutory process. There's a specific state law that's dictating this. That is, when a property owner wants to apply for a building permit on a class 6 road. That's what we're talking about.
So, if you look at that green,
This is the barn?
yeah, that's the one that they're showing. You see that barn on the other side of the street, further back. That was the barn. Yep, that one. You see where the little thing is? That's the barn that the planning board, Jake, was recommending you start the measurement from, not the big barn. And then if you scroll back a little bit, or scroll out a little bit, you see Lucas and Page. Right there.
Yeah.
That is where the fire department wants them to pick up their measurements from.
So you're maintaining this entire road?
Yes, sir.
You guys are?
Yeah.
Okay. And then it goes up like this, and this is where Jack's Bridge goes.
And that's the lot in question, right there, where you had your pencil.
So
Yeah.
they're thinking going up like this somewhere. Okay.
And I did that measurement for you. It's from Lucas to their development, it's 2,531 feet.
2,531 feet. And then
From
you
Lucas.
create 150 feet of road frontage.
Although she's saying different about the road frontage, sir.
Yeah.
The reason for this process is because it's on a class 6 road, and this is the process that's required. It's not, you have to meet 150 feet of linear frontage.
And if you do indemnify, if you do go forward with this and you do the indemnification, you should have the indemnification also for the abutters. Because, God forbid, something goes wrong and, we plow our driveways when we want to plow our driveways, and they're either going to need to be responsible for the whole thing, or they're going to come back on us and say, hey, you didn't salt your driveway and the fire apparatus couldn't get to it.
Thank you, sir.
I don't know that we could do that because we'd be taking out a contract on behalf of an abutter. It'd be between two private citizens. I don't know that we can indemnify.
How are you, sir?
Well, sir, John Farrell, 4 Hancock Drive. A lot of numbers of feet and everything being thrown around. There's 5,280 feet in a mile. So this is going half a mile deep. We have regulations here in town. We should be following them. This looks like something that you're taking 100 pounds of something not nice and trying to stick it in a 10-pound bag. This is wrong. It shouldn't be happening. They want to build a road? Build a road. It costs money to build a road. It's kind of simple. Follow the regulations. You guys should not be re-engineering this for them. We have limited capacity here with fire and safety and EMTs and paramedics and everything else. And the town talks about it constantly. You're going to send an entire team up there. What's going to happen when you send mutual aid? What are they going to do? They have no idea. You're setting us up for failure. Vote no.
John, can I ask a question?
It's
No, I just got a question about, wasn't this approved prior, though? And why was it? Do you understand? Do you know the history?
I don't know anything about it.
Okay. Okay.
Come to the mic, please.
Yeah.
You're asking about a prior approval for this lot?
Yeah, that you gave us.
Correct. It was approved previously with these same conditions by the town council at that time.
Okay.
The applicant then decided that they did not want to adhere to all of the conditions that were imposed to that building permit.
That's it.
They then went to the ZBA to request removal of 2 of those conditions. The ZBA granted that request, but the variances were not actually acted upon, and so they became void. They have to be acted upon within a period of 2 years to be in effect.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
John?
Yeah, so she explained it, it's to the recommendations, and they're looking for 16 feet.
Okay. Thank you.
How are you, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Tony DeFrancesco, 1 Cheshire. I also sit as an alternate on the planning board. I believe I was an alternate, and I'm pretty sure I did not vote on this item. But regardless, it doesn't matter, because the comments that I'm going to say tonight, I've said in this chambers, I've said at a planning board meeting, and I also said it at several school board meetings. We need to understand that we all talk about the fire truck's going to get stuck, and this is going to get stuck, and that's going to get stuck. We're talking about changing a 10% grade to a 6%, I mean a 6% necessary grade to, and allow a 10% or get closer to 6%, but not 6%. And my comment has always been, yes, we have $1.5 million fire trucks. Yes, the tires are $1,000 to $1,500 each. Yes, we have rescue trucks that we have paramedics on that are top-heavy, very top-heavy. The most important thing that we always forget is the human component. We are putting human beings, men and women, into that equipment to respond to whatever they're going to respond to on whatever kind of road it is. And that's part of the reason why we have standards. There are employees, men and women, in that apparatus that we need to protect, that we have an obligation to protect. You have an obligation to protect. The ZBA has that same thing. The planning board has that same thing. We need to protect people as well as the equipment. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else with public comment? Christine?
Christine Perez, 5 Wesley Drive. This is going to be my state rep connection. Class 6 roads was a zoning bill put before the House that failed because, and I fought it, and I fought it publicly on a radio show, because of the liability around it. The zoning bill that was put forward was basically going to let Class 6 roads, people who own Class 6 roads, put on whatever they wanted, whenever they wanted. And the thing that I fought, being a healthcare provider, was you can't get to. I mean, you have the fire truck coming with the ambulance, and the ambulance has to get out, but it came in first. How's it going to get past that fire truck? The liability, you can sign whatever waiver you want to sign, but it's just like when you go to a ski area and sign a waiver. They're not going to do you any good when push comes to shove. That bill failed. It will come again. I will fight again for it to fail. You need to think of the safety of this, the safety of the people, and signing waivers does no good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tammy Verani, 73 Page Road. I just wanted to, I guess, give some more insight. I live on the portion of the Class 6 road that we maintain. I can tell you probably at least a half a dozen times a year, the town-maintained portion of Page Road completely washes out. Completely. There have been times, I have 2 older kids now, but when they were younger and they needed bus service, there were many, many days where I got a phone call from the bus company stating that they could not provide service, and my bus stop was at the corner of Lucas and Page. So to then think now that you're going to open up a town road that has to be maintained by a private citizen and not expect that there's going to be issues with town services, I think is a little naive. I also think that we had to build the road to 20 feet wide. We maintain our road very, very well. But there are those times where we may be out of town, we may be vacationing, we may be away at work, and that road may not get plowed. I don't want to have any responsibility to keep that road open so that they can keep their portion of the road open. I also don't want them to maintain the road and ruin the capital investment that we've made in the road because they don't know what they're doing. Right? We spend a lot of money bringing in fill and grading and a lot of time taking care of that road to make sure that it is safe so we can get our emergency services. I don't want somebody else now taking that responsibility over and then damaging our property. I think it's also difficult when you start to actually take a look at where this lot is and the woods that you have to go through and the changes in the grade and the amount of wetlands that are out there. It's going to be a pretty big impact to the land that surrounds it. From a financing perspective, I don't know if it matters or not, but whoever you sell this house to, God help them have cash. Because with all of these waivers from the town, the liability, the neighbors that have to go on record, it's going to make it a much harder property to sell. And it definitely is going to have to be something that somebody understands what they're getting into. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else with public comment?
Just one more.
Yeah.
John Weigler, 74 Page Road. I own all the property that's kind of like south below that line. And we also own, I guess, 3 more parcels on that parcel. We have the one where the north arrow is. We own the pie-shaped one. And we own the other kind of lot to the right. So we do have, and we are paying taxes on that as buildable lots in the town. So they are buildable. My only concern is that this is a town road, and it should be made a town road and not a public, not a private driveway. Let's put it like that. He can have his private driveway on his own property, but that road should be, definitely a public road, because I am allowed to access that to get to my other parcels. And there was some mention at the planning board meeting that, well, we're going to put in a 15-foot wide driveway, and then when you go to build a house on that next parcel, you're going to have to come in and put the 20-foot wide road in. And I said, no way. So if they want to build over there, it should be 20 feet wide minimum, up to town standards for gravel and everything. And then at that point, I think everything is fair.
Thank you. Anyone else with public comment?
Martha Smith, 38 Shasta Drive. I also think that this sounds very dangerous to me. I know that there was just a small sort of fender bender outside my house. I live on Shasta Drive. It's kind of a main drag in town. The road is wide. Not only did we have 2 fire engines, we had at least 3 cruisers. I mean, you're talking when there's something happening in town, a lot of our emergency responders show up. And I just think that this sounds very dangerous to me.
Thank you. Anyone else with public comment? All right, I'll accept the motion to close public comment.
Mr. Chairman?
Oh.
Can I do a very short rebuttal?
Yep.
Before you close?
Yeah.
A lot was said, and I just want to very quickly say a few issues. A lot of discussion of road versus driveway. Hopefully we graded it here on the name of the road. Jacksbridge Road is an existing Class 6 road. Town has the right-of-way. We are building a road driveway to one house lot. It's a driveway in our lot. What you call it on the road, it's only being built for our house. So there's this question of what's a road and what's a driveway. The right-of-way that's existing is a road. We're building an access to a house. On our lot, it's definitely a driveway. And I've done many 50, 100-acre house lots over the years in the state where the house is a half mile to a mile off the road. That's not uncommon in New Hampshire. People build on mountaintops. And they do NFPA requirements up to their house. There's a long history of that. Real quickly, he said there are 3 other parcels. There's 3 houses on this Class 6 road now. They all had to come in for this approval. This lot was in once before for this approval and was approved. If there's 3 more lots, if they want to build a house, they have to come in and do this same process. So if we build our access to our property, they still have to come in and present their plan, whether it's 2 years from now or 50 years from now. And we're talking about the frontage on the road. This is an existing lot of record. So if you go to the subdivision to create a new lot, you need a certain amount of frontage on a Class 5 road. But this is a pre-existing lot, so there's no requirement for a frontage requirement. This lot is already existing. And yes, this owner will have to maintain the whole way out. When they leave in the morning, if nobody else plows, they will have to plow the entire way out. I probably could continue talking, but it's been a long evening already. I think you understand the position we are in.
I'll accept the motion to close public
moved.
hearing. Motion by Dan.
Second.
Second by Ted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes in the affirmative. Bring it back to the council. What do we want to do?
I have concerns with the fire department equipment being up there, and our men and women up there if something happens. I think if it was a 20-foot road, just like it currently is from Lucas all the way up, I'd be looking at it differently.
So we could put restriction on it.
I think we could go with the original, not the 15-foot that they proposed, but the original things proposed by the planning board, because I think the planning board went through, vetted this.
Okay.
Put these in there for a reason, and put the right conditions, and they voted 9-0 on that. So I think those aren't the 15-foot, those are the road size that he was talking about.
The 20-foot?
I believe you have to read it to be exact.
Because when I look at, Sean, when I look at this agreement, I mean, it says 20 feet, but they're talking 15 feet.
Yeah, that's what
So-
they proposed as a change to what the planning board was approved. And I'm saying we should go with the original, not the 15-foot road.
So I think we need to clarify, what exactly did the planning board say? Not just for the board, but for the people listening.
It's within, I mean.
While he's looking that up, let me ask, what would the fire department be comfortable with if the board were to approve this? What would you guys feel comfortable with?
I don't want to speak for you, but I
Oh.
think they provided that within the conditions, if you want to give me a second to
Okay, yeah, I just,
work them out.
I know, I'm just
Okay,
trying to
got
address
it.
Dan's concern. If the,
Because, yeah, those were fire vetted and.
yeah, I just,
So, Mr. Chair, if you don't mind.
No,
So
please.
these are the conditions that were recommended by the planning board. These are based on internal discussions between planning staff, engineering staff, and the fire department. So again, that's what's up on your screen. And I think to Vice Chairman Faber's point, you have a few options, that being to approve the building permit with these conditions as was recommended by the planning board. You could consider approving the building permit based on what's been presented before you this evening. And I would say if you're going to do that, you would need to amend that waiver to reflect 15 feet and not the 20, to your point, Councilor Bouchard. Or you can determine that you don't think this is appropriate and deny the building permit. That's a few of the options you have. You can certainly go through these one by one, but again, to Councilor Faber's point, the planning board kind of went through this exercise already. But again, this is your decision to make in terms of how you want to review this, and then ultimately make a decision on the building permit itself.
Okay. Any more discussion on this? I mean, as far as like waivers you want to imply, or do you want Dan is concerned about the 20 feet. Am I correct?
I'm concerned about the 20 feet. I'm concerned about, it's just not a good situation trying to put our equipment up there and gets bottlenecked up there and there's no way out of there. I mean, there's discussions before saying that they should have some way to turn our vehicles, our fire apparatus around. You know, we don't have enough hose to go up there, I don't think. I think we'd have to end up with tankers, and, you know, one tanker now has to back up all the other vehicles, and so.
I am too concerned about the chief's point. You know, even though they don't have to respond, they're going to respond.
They're gonna.
And we're going to put their lives in
Exactly.
danger. That does concern me.
If you're ready for a
They are
motion,
going to
I'll make a
respond. They're
motion.
going to do everything they possibly can to help.
If you're ready for a motion, I'll make a motion.
I think we've talked to, and so I've been through this with the planning board, hearing the whole thing. We've been through with fire to make sure that they're absolutely comfortable. And we can ask them again tonight if the original, because we spent a lot of time asking the questions on the 15 feet, and I don't think that was, the 15 feet, that does not fit any of the.
And also, I mean,
right on that.
Yeah, Sean, I went up there today, you know, because I went up Jack's Bridge Road, and I'm trying to find it. I'm like, okay, this ain't gonna work. So I went up Page to Luke, you know, Lucas, and I went up, and I was looking for it, and, you know, I found it, and it's like, yeah, this is pretty far.
Yeah, we walked it on the planning board. We also saw the ridge that he's talking about and where the house would be placed, how far it is. So we saw it with the detail of the plan and everything else. So it's hard to pinpoint and see without seeing where the house is in relation to.
But going from Lucas all the way up to the barn, right, where Jack's Bridge starts, I mean, that road, 20 feet, you can tell it's well maintained. There's place for our apparatus to turn around, and to me, that's a safe thing.
Yeah, and I think we should have a safe road here too.
Yeah.
And I agree with you.
So let me ask the first question, Chief. Would the fire department feel comfortable with the conditions that the planning board originally put in place?
Yeah, by all means, we worked with the planning board, and we feel comfortable with what we presented as well as what they accepted.
So
As
that-
well as the,
Yeah, that's
as well as the other agencies in town.
So to your point, Sean, we'd be going back to the original document.
Yeah, because I don't like this. We spent a long time vetting this, and when all of a sudden we're changing up at the last minute to 15 feet, all these reasonable questions come up of safety, all the things brought up by the people in the audience. It's that starts changing what's been a well-vetted process already in the moment, and we're trying to catch up, rework, and reconfigure everything. We went through a long process to get to that point, and I trust that process more than I trust some curveball thrown in at the last second.
So can this be denied and they bring it back later with the planning board? You know, once they've agreed with the planning board recommendations and everything, bring it back to us then?
I think that's a question for Kelly.
So we've gone through that exercise already. As part of this process, they've already gone to the planning board and had the same back and forth that they're having here with the council. They went through an initial meeting and then a public hearing at the planning board as well. And that result of that is what's before you this evening. So if you decide to deny the building permit, and at a later date, someone else or this individual comes forward and wants to apply again, there's nothing stating that they can't necessarily do that. So it's really just, what do you want to do tonight as far as the building permit and these conditions?
I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
because if you have something different that would satisfy what you're thinking, it'd be good to bring that up now rather than go through the whole process to get back here to. Because then your feedback gets incorporated at least.
Right.
I would have one item that I think would be reasonable to add would be the turnaround that they've requested within the planning document at 1,200 feet, which is right near the barn. I think that's personally reasonable to ask for. I mean, we have 1,200 feet for a reason in the town, and then you need a turnaround.
And that's part of the recommendation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My concern, Ted, is I'm listening to what Kelly just said, and they've gone back and forth with the planning board. I would have hoped that they would have come here and said, okay, we've accepted the planning board's recommendations, we're gonna do the 20-foot, we're gonna do the turnaround, you know,
So-
but that's not where we're at.
But just to that point, this is the venue, this is the forum where they would have that back and forth to come to a decision, because you're the decision makers.
And Kelly, the planning board was 9-0 in favor, correct?
Correct.
I just want to make sure.
And I think an item that we had talked about tonight was the driveway from Jacksbridge, which will then be changed to Page Road, will be 20 feet long, so that a fire apparatus can get up there, so that they can get within 50 feet of the door, because the width that the driveway would be proposed at originally, it would not be safe. And I think that would be a requirement that we should be making part of this plan.
Okay. Do you feel comfortable with what Ted is saying?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, no,
so
no,
that's good.
I want to make sure this is as safe as possible.
Okay.
And that's why I'm no on the
Does that-
15.
Does that make you feel more comfortable with what Ted's saying? or-
I'm not in favor of it.
Okay.
I'm not in favor of it.
Sam?
I just feel that, yeah, it's too many issues. I think they should have been resolved.
Should have been cleaned up. when it
Cleaned
was
up,
Brought here to
brought
us.
here to us and said, this, and this, you know? Because, I mean, if we say to them, no, we want the 20 feet, and they don't do, you know, they don't want to do the 20 feet. So, I think it should be brought up to town specs on the road, because they've already stated there's 3 other lots up there, and if that road gets put in, they're probably going to develop those lots.
So I'm agreeing with you, but I'm saying we should just disregard their requests to change what came here. So what
Right.
came here that was ready and prepared for us, as you just said, I'm okay with accepting that. I am a no on the changes or any requests to change any of what came here. But I'm okay with what came here. But I just to reiterate, I
Are you
want none of
confusing me, Sean? You're okay with
what came here well vetted, right, when you said you
Right
wanted
here.
this, and this, that's what you just stated you wanted, and I'm agreeing with you. What originally came to us, well written out, well documented, none of I'm not.
Not what was presented tonight.
Right.
No.
Okay.
What was brought.
So I think if I could just offer a
please.
suggestion. Maybe just look for a motion on the building permit with the conditions that were recommended by the planning board. And if the vote is no, you don't want to do that, then it's denied. And if it's yes, then it's passed with those conditions that, as I'm understanding it, the majority of you are favorable towards.
With the one amendment of
Yeah.
the actual
With-
driveway.
With Ted's amendment.
I feel better hearing from the chief knowing that he supports us and he vetted it with the planning department.
So, yes, so we worked with the planning.
Yeah.
We followed the recommendations from the fire code, and we are not here to deny people use of their land. We just want to ensure that that land can be accessed safely, and that the people are safe, our responders are safe, and that this is the minimum that the state requires. And the planning board did a wonderful job incorporating these, as well as other departments, to ensure this could happen. But to Dan's point, what the planning board recommends is what we support.
Okay.
Which again are these conditions that I have up on the screen. just so everyone's on the same page.
So
Nothing.
nothing that was presented tonight.
The original conditions, no modification.
Kelly, so
You're talking about
what's
the staff-
Dan reading that
staff
says 20
comments.
feet?
The
So
waiver.
the reference to the 20 feet that Dan was reading is within the liability waiver,
Yep.
which is a condition listed here that that liability waiver would need to be signed.
The recommendation is 24 feet.
So that,
I'm still against it. Any loose
That's
ends?
I guess, I don't know. I listened to, John's been on the planning board. Tony's been on the alternate on the planning board. They both came up here, against it. We have the abutters that are against it.
And we have the vote of the current planning board.
Right.
Vote of the current plan was 9-0.
Yeah.
And with the current stipulations in here, fire department supports it.
Because I heard the same questions you asked tonight when we were going through the long process of vetting this out,
Yep.
getting through. So all those things have been asked, and that's why I feel more comfortable with those being addressed, because I was sitting there with the process as we went to address those things that came up.
I guess
That's why
my
I'm also not
problem
a
is the enforcement of any of this stuff. And when I say enforcement, later on keeping down the road. So like, I don't remember which person got up and said it, but if these people don't clean their road, then these people are stuck, then the fire trucks can't get up. There's too many what-ifs in this for me. And if they want to come back with something that's a solid plan that eliminates the what-ifs, because God forbid, I hate to bring it up, but there was a terrible fire in Londonderry that a long time ago, and a mother and a child, and they were wonderful people, and because we weren't prepared and we didn't consider the what ifs. What ifs? If there had been a hydrant, if there had been, these things would have been not happening. And so for me, as one person on this board, and I know people put a lot of work into it, and yes, he has a right to do things with his property, but what was the road off of Hardy? The guy wanted to put in a few houses, and they made him totally redo the road 24 feet and up to par. Ted, you lived on that road. What the heck's the name of the road?
Bancroft.
On Bancroft. They made him do that before he did his thing. We wouldn't let the people on Brewster do it because of safety issues. We have to have a standard of consistency, if you ask me. And yeah, we would be setting precedent. We set precedent in the past, and we said, you had to do this, you had to do that, and now we're saying, it's okay. And so for me, if they want to come back with a solid plan that eliminates a lot of the what-ifs, then for me, I would say, yeah, you want to build that road, for this development and to do this, and it keeps not just the people in the house that they sell it to safe, our employees safe. And, for me, that's important. So I'm voting, I guess I'm not for this unless they come back with something more concrete and solid.
No, the safety of the employees is very important to me. That's why I wanted to make sure the fire department was on board with it. So I'm just saying.
What's it going to hurt them to come back at another meeting with a solid
Can I just make a point really
please.
quick, just to Deb's point a little bit? So in an ideal scenario, we'd have a Class 6 road policy, right? Where we would have very pointed policy and procedure to point to. We don't have that. We have the state law, and we have past practice, which are the conditions that are before you right now. So that's what we have to work with. So in terms of directing an applicant to adjust a plan to make it more safe, I don't really think that that's the question or the direction. I think it's you're either deciding to impose these conditions or you're not, or you're approving the building permit with those conditions, or you're not. Because from what I'm hearing from the applicant, they don't want to adhere to these conditions necessarily. So I think that kind of answers the question about whether or not they're going to revise a plan and come back to you.
So just to clarify, Kelly, so what's in front of us from the planning board
Yep.
is not setting precedent. It is what we've currently done in the past.
No. This is what we've done in the
Right, I'm
past
just-
as far as I've
Yeah.
researched.
What's the road they shut
So It's up to you if you want to impose these conditions,
Yeah.
if you decide to approve the building.
I just want to make sure we're
Well,
not.
I mean, I don't know if John would be willing to step up. I mean, if he even remembers. But John Farrell knew. Maybe do you remember those, John? The what was it, at Bancroft Road or Brewster? You were.
This is just the council. Right.
I just would like, because I know that happened.
I know, but we're
it's
just having a discussion
important.
amongst us.
But it's important to know that we did say no to people unless they did certain things.
John, would you like to come up and address that, or would you prefer not to? It's up to you, sir. I
don't know what the question.
Yeah, so I just like, so we'll just say, what do we want to do?
The one thing that's might change on this, and I double checked to be sure I even have it up here if you want to see it, but SB 281 did go through. It didn't fail. And if signed by the governor, within 60 days of that, all this requires is a waiver. So these are our chances to get the safe condition in. We don't do it and it comes back. We may get this with no safe conditions. We may get a different situation that we don't like. And so this would be our chance. And it's unlikely to be vetoed, I would say.
I'm fine with you speaking, sir, if you...
So you have a couple options, right? You can put a policy in place for Class 6 roads. You can start that as soon as the town's ready to start that. Someone can invoke councilor privilege and put this thing off. You can tell them no. You can tell them yes. If you're familiar with that area and everything, and you've listened to the people who have lived there for 30 years and what's required for them to take care of the road, sounds like a lot of work. With regards to any other accidents that have happened here in town or things that have been denied in the past, I'm sure they were all done for good reason. And, I don't have instant recall on all the different fires that have happened in town, but what I did hear tonight is I heard Brian over here say this is the minimum for state law. I heard Fred, the fire chief, say, I support what the planning board said. None of them said this is ideal. None of them said they support this. None of them said this is they didn't all stand up here and say this is a great idea. What they're doing is putting on their capes with a big S on the back of it and says, we'll show up. It's kind of where you're at. So I don't know if that's what you were looking for, and I hope that helps.
I'd like to call council a privilege then.
Okay. All right. Let the record show that Councilor Paul has invoked council privilege, and this will be put off to the next meeting.
Can I just ask, when is the next meeting, just so we have a date?
July 21st.
July 21st?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Next up is the public hearing.
Take it out in the hall, please.
Next up is the public hearing for input, discussion, to take action on adopting rules of order for the town council. I'll accept the motion to open the public hearing. Moved by Deb.
Second.
Second by Dan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes in the affirmative.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So in front of you in the packet, you have the original version, or I should say the fiscal year 12 version of the town council rules. You have a red line copy of the amendments, and you have a clean copy of the amendments. I want to be clear that the red line and the clean copy are the same document, just two different ways of looking at it.
Okay.
The substantive changes to these revisions, it incorporates the revisions that you made previously this year. It introduces the formal process for councilors and the public to request agenda items using a standardized form and timeline, as Town Manager Sean Mulholland has communicated to you. We did replace gender-neutral terms with chairman and vice chairman, so now it says chair and vice chair. Responsibilities of town staff were clarified to ensure that meeting minutes are legally compliant and to generalize the fact that the executive assistant is responsible for ensuring minutes are taken, but not their physical presence at the meeting. And councilor liaison appointments are more clearly defined and updated to reflect the current town boards and commissions in there.
Any questions from the council?
I had one,
Good, Dan.
as usual.
Yeah, that's right.
Under, it wouldn't be normal if I didn't. Under agenda,
Yeah.
it says 10-day notice. What if something comes up within an emergency within those 10 days, and we want to bring that up?
As I've done in the past, the chair would add it to the agenda, is what we've done in the past.
The chair would work, in the case of an actual emergency, the chair would work with the town manager to determine whether that is an actual emergency that belongs on the agenda or something that can be.
Okay.
Often those emergencies require even faster action, and in that case, again, the chair would work with the town manager.
So there is flexibility.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well, again, we're talking about what constitutes an actual emergency.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
Which would
maybe it should be
likely
more
result in a special meeting or something of that
I think
nature.
I think it needs to be a little more flexible because, for example, let's say Sean has something that comes up at the planning board and needs to be discussed at the next council meeting, but we only have 7 days. Does that
Well,
mean?
Again, is that necessarily an emergency? I think that's where the chair and the town manager would have that conversation.
It does not preclude special meetings, as Ms. Karen has said. And just to let you know, somebody had asked to make sure that these got out to the public. These have been posted on the town website under the town council page. All 3 documents in front of you have been up there since the day after your last meeting. So we received no comments from the public on it.
That's my only concern. The 10 days. That's it. If there's flexibility there, I'm okay with it.
There's definitely flexibility. Yeah.
All right, should we make a motion?
I get to open public first.
Oh, sorry.
Anyone from the public have any comments, suggestions on the rules? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to close public, accept the motion to close public comment.
So moved.
Motion by Sean,
Second.
second by Deb. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes in the affirmative.
So motion to adopt the rules as written.
Motion by Sean,
Second.
second by Dan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes in the affirmative. New business. Accept tax collector's deed for the property located at 10 Beacon Street. That has been moved to 721. Next item, discuss the expenditure of expendable maintenance trust fund. Mr. Wally.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Tonight, I bring before you a bill to pay for a couple of emergency repairs. You may recall we had a unit go down in the finance department. We had some window units up for a week or two. And it's actually working pretty nice and cool in here in this room now, too. We actually have 2 units that run this unit, that control this room, and one of them has been been repaired. The total cost for the 2 units was $15,973. And you should have the bill in there describing the scope of work and everything else that was done. Any
questions from the council for Dave?
No.
Yeah. Yes, go ahead.
So I'm just looking at the invoice on this.
Yeah.
All right, and the work that was done and all that. There's no mention in here about a warranty on the workmanship or the parts. And the reason I ask that is because I think it's something we need to be tracking and following, because something like this gets done, they put a part in, they come back because it was faulty or something, so can we get something in the future that says what is warranty?
Yeah, so all the work that E&E does is all stipulated, and the warranties and everything else are all covered in the provisions of the maintenance contract that we have with them too. So
okay,
yep, it's on file. Yeah,
I just want to try to keep track of
Absolutely.
these parts, because when I've talked with the town manager,
Mhm.
it's like, we need to track this.
Yeah, I mean, we already started some discussions about, some taking it to the next level on asset management of facilities and having some software that helps us manage things that you're talking about.
Thank you.
Yep.
Dave, E&E has been in place with us for over 2 to 3 years now, correct?
For certain facilities, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for a little over 2 years now.
So we've had their maintenance with us, Dan, for quite a few years now.
Yeah.
So-
Any other questions for Dave? I will accept the motion to accept order number 2025-15.
So moved.
Moved by Ted,
Second.
second by Sean. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes in the affirmative.
Great.
Thank you, sir.
So before we go on to the next section, I just have a procedural thing. We went through so quick with the alternates for the ZBA. I've heard complaints in the past that we've approved positions that have not been posted. That particular last one has not been posted, and we just inserted it in here. So is that, because I want to make sure we're doing things proper every time and not sometimes we post, sometimes we don't post. I think we should be, I mean, the complaint has been at the town council for doing that in the past,
Okay.
not having things posted properly. So I think,
Let me ask our,
Yeah, that last alternate position technically should be posted out to the citizens that
Yeah.
has now been open and vacant.
What do you think, Kirsten?
So technically, when you moved Rob into the
Yep.
full member, correct? Then you put Mr. Grennan into the alternate seat.
That was
Those two
posted.
positions
those are both posted.
were posted, both of
Those two positions were posted.
Then, through those actions, another alternate position became vacant this evening. That was not advertised and posted.
Yeah.
Is that, so that's what?
Yeah, that's my concern, because we've complained about that in the past, and I want to make sure that we're doing everything by the book and consistent.
In the past, we haven't filled positions that haven't been posted in the past. I will say, I believe in the past, if a position opened up and more became available, you did fill them from the applicant, the current applicant pool, if you so desired to do so.
we have done that in the past.
So it's just, does
Yeah,
this council want to
right.
consistently go forward in that manner? Because
Right.
I've heard complaints after every
Right.
time, so we either got to make sure we say it's okay to do, and we're going to do that in the future, and that's okay, so we clear it up for the public,
Right.
or we don't do it and we do post
Maybe this should
everything.
be an agenda item to create a whole process on how we're gonna do this.
But I'm trying to deal with this one tonight to make sure that because it went by so quick, I'm trying to
I think-
make sure we're
I
proud.
I know that
think-
with the,
But
you
you've
know,
already done it.
being the,
Right,
you know,
yeah.
being the
So-
liaison to the ZBA, they've struggled
Yeah.
to try to
Yeah.
have enough people. So I looked at this and like,
Which is true, and I'm not denying that. I'm just saying that there's definitely been a push, and I think it's a good push to make sure that we follow process and procedure in a consistent manner, regardless of who it is, and we go forward with the same consistency, so there's no confusion to the public, because the public has felt like people have got on boards inconsistently in the past, and have complained that people didn't have an opportunity or anything else. And so that's happened, and I want to try to address that and
So-
start calming those
Well,
things.
what if we were to take it up, Deb's point, we already voted on this, but take it up in the future?
Well, that's why I said, if we put it
Yeah.
on the agenda and work with Kristen and get like a actual, this is our process, because there isn't one.
So we,
Would that,
We kind of have one, it's loosey-goosey.
But I still feel like we did it
There are specific
tonight.
timeframes that we are adhering to post
Yeah.
vacant positions.
Mhm.
In recent history, we have consistently posted vacant positions as they become available within, what's the timeframe?
With a minimum open period from when it's posted for 2 weeks. That's the minimum post.
Because, I mean, someone looking to apply, they would look and see 2 open positions, they're not going to know about a third. They may go, oh, there's enough people, I'm good, I don't want to do it. But then they see that there's an open third, maybe they decide they want to do something. I mean, like, you just never know, and I just want to be consistent, and I want to make sure that we're...
So
But when they're posted, you don't know how many people apply.
that is true. We
Oh,
did not
that's
make
true.
that
That's
public. So I will say you did do the same. I can think of 2 instances in the past year where extra positions were made available after the posting, and as long as they were on the same board and the same committee, they were filled. There was once with the Heritage Commission and once with the Recreation Commission in the past 2 years. And I will say that is similar to what we did with the Senior Resource Committee, where you accepted the resignation
true,
and
we did it
filled it,
tonight.
even though it was another position
we
there.
accepted the resignation and then,
Yeah.
so
I,
if
and I
we-
will say that in the past 18 months, as far as the boards and commissions that you are responsible for appointing people on, we have not had enough people to fill all the positions. So be as it may, in the past 18 months of the ones that you are responsible for making the decision on, the appointment, you have not turned anybody away.
Okay, well, I'm fine with that, as long as we
So it's
make
up to you.
it clear, like going forward, if all of a sudden we appoint
So
something and someone
Why don't we
goes
do
into.
that?
We should have a
Why
policy.
don't we add it to?
I don't know necessarily that we need to have
Okay.
a policy for everything. I think it's just, here's a clear definition of us saying, recorded for
Okay.
the public, that this is how things are done, and it is okay and it's consistent, and we're all here in agreement on camera.
As long as we have a clear understanding.
Yeah, we all have a clear understanding
It
of how it
also
goes.
should be on the town website, on the applicant page. This is the process.
So I think, Counselor Faber, to your point, it was important to raise that.
Yeah.
To point out
Yeah.
that that's what actually happened
Happened.
this evening, and that the council, from what I'm hearing, you're in agreement
Yeah.
with what occurred, right? So going forward, the expectation is, if this instance arises again, where you have 2 vacant seats, and then appointing 2 people,
Yeah.
one into a full and then another into an alternate, opens up another seat, this council is comfortable acting on that at that time and not following a posting period.
Yep. And if
And
any
is that right?
questions come up, see 7/7/2025 meeting. We had all discussed this, and that is how we're going to behave going forward. So there should be no question if this comes up in the future of us doing that.
Well, thank you for bringing it up. Next order of business is disabled veterans tax credit pursuant to the RSA 72:35. Mr. Hamilton. Thank you for your patience, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the council. It's good to be here tonight. So recently, the legislature adopted HB 99 with an effective date of July 13th of 2025. So next week, the law will be effective. It changes the provisions of the disabled veterans tax credit in 2 ways. One, it allows a town to increase the maximum amount of the tax credit from $4,000, where Londonderry currently sets that tax credit, to $5,000 per year. Secondly, it eliminates the ability to stack that credit with a standard optional tax credit for a veteran, which is currently $750. So a person who qualifies for both right now receives $4,750 tax credit. And so that stacking, if you would, of the veterans tax credit is no longer allowed with this new law. So the higher amount, if you choose to go to the higher amount, will be $250 more than what the total stacking would be. There are 79 individuals that are granted the total and permanent disabled tax credit, 78 full, and 1 partial. And partial doesn't relate to partially disabled. It relates to a person who owns a fraction of the ownership interest in a home. So it's split. Of those, there will be an increase of the disabled tax credit of $78,500, but there'll be a corresponding decrease of the standard optional veterans of $50,250. So the net increase in total tax credits will be $28,250, and that's based on a report that we ran on June 8th, I believe it was. So they're pretty current counts of what the financial impact will be for this change, if you are to adopt it.
Any questions from the council? It's the first reading, so. No questions. I will accept.
So what is the tax rate impact of our $28,250?
$28,250 would be in the neighborhood of a
Maybe
penny.
half a penny?
A half a penny.
Ish.
It would be within the rounding error, I think.
Yep. Okay.
So I propose we move that the Londonderry Town Council hereby schedules a public hearing for July 21st, 2025 to adopt the provisions of RSA 7235-1A, tax credit for service-connected total disability in the amount of $5,000 with an effective date of August 1st, 2025.
I have a motion by Sean.
Second.
Second by Dan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Chair votes in the affirmative. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chair, thank you. Thank you all for your attention to this.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
if you don't mind me making a suggestion, I'm just looking at the agenda. I believe I have all the remaining items with the exception of the master lease purchase agreement, which our finance director will be covering. Perhaps you want to move that up.
Sure,
if
absolutely.
you so choose. Just a suggestion.
Yeah.
It's getting late.
So I will. Next item will be authorizing a master lease purchase agreement. It's Mr. Campbell.
Good evening, everyone. So in your packets, you have the details regarding our master lease agreement and the RFP that we put out. We utilized PFM to assist us in getting the best deal as well as leveraging our banking partners, which is why if you look at the bid summary, TD Bank is not significantly, but a good amount lower than the other banks that offered a bid. This leasing program, this is the second time I've done it. I believe Doug Smith did it one time before. And I just want to emphasize, while I'm saying leasing program, it's more of a financing aspect. The leasing is more of a governmental accounting term, which is why in the agenda title, you'll see that it says Master Lease Purchase Agreement, because these vehicles we do own at the end.
Any questions from the council?
Where is this document for us? I'm not seeing this in the...
Page 149, it looks like.
Yep, it's just.
And if
it's
you look,
after
I
all the
believe it's
zoning
page
amendments.
152 is the summary of all the bids that we've received.
Thank you.
So if you look at the other banks, you'll see that most of them, I think the next closest is a 3-year at M&T at 3.952, where we're getting the 3, 7, and 10 at 3.72. TD has also worked with us in the past. They're the ones that when the last time this came around, we selected them as well at that point, and they assisted us with I guess, benefiting us as well as saving us money, where rather than having a secondary company hold it in escrow and have to pay them, they allow us to hold it in escrow ourselves and utilize the funds in there. They earn interest, and then we draw on it as we're purchasing the vehicles and equipment. But rather than somebody else earning interest on it and us having to pay them, we're able to do it all within house, and essentially that money acts as the collateral until it's replaced by the vehicle as collateral.
Any other questions? Dan, you know?
I don't have anything on that.
If no one has any questions, Sean, do you?
Yeah. So I move that the Londonderry Town Council hereby approves Resolution 2025-13 relative to a master lease agreement for the lease purchase of equipment and vehicles for the town.
Motion by Sean.
Second.
Second by Ted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes in the affirmative. Thank you, sir. we're gonna go back.
Zoning.
Yep. The zoning ordinance amendments for the first reading of inclusionary housing.
Yep, just bear with me
Yep.
while I pull it back up. Okay. Okay. So again, first reading for a number of zoning amendments. First before you is the inclusionary housing section of our zoning ordinance. So this, again, went through our process, which is outlined in the zoning ordinance, that being a review with the planning board, and then the planning board provides the town council with its recommendation on the amendment to the ordinance. So with respect to the inclusionary housing ordinance, the amendments include removing references to live-work units and small workforce housing unit developments. That decision was recommended based on the fact that, as far as I understand it and the board understands it, we have never seen proposals for such developments. And so those are not being utilized. And so the planning board and staff agreed that they don't need to be referenced in the ordinance anymore. And the other significant amendment was to change where we allow workforce housing, that being inclusionary housing, within the ordinance. And I'm sorry, I'm going to pull up the red line document in Word just so you can see it more clearly. So again, as far as where inclusionary housing is permitted, so previously, or in the current ordinance, I should say, it's permitted by conditional use permit in AR1, R3, in all of the commercial zoning districts, as well as PUDs, and the 102 and 28 overlay districts. Through discussion with the planning board and staff, the determination was made to permit multifamily workforce housing, inclusionary housing, within the same districts that we permit multifamily housing. So the change is to remove multifamily workforce housing as permitted by conditional use permit in the AR1 zoning district, but keep it as is. That is permitted by conditional use permit in the, again, R3 commercial zones, PUD, in the 2 overlay districts. So those were the significant changes. And again, this is the first reading, so I'm happy to take the council's feedback on these amendments, and then again we'll go through this process again at the hearing, and be able to hear from the public as well. But if the council has any initial thoughts or changes that you want to bring forward at the hearing stage, now would be the time to cover that, with respect to the inclusionary housing.
Maybe just for a better definition for people here and at home, what exactly are we meaning by inclusionary housing? Some people may think it's one thing, some people may understand it as something else.
So it's workforce housing by the statutory definition that the state puts out. So there's specific formulas that are within the statute that define how you calculate the cost that you can associate with workforce housing. So
Is this what is now called as inclusionary and formally as workforce?
right. So in our zoning ordinance, we use inclusionary and workforce interchangeably. That's why you'll see at the top of the title of this section of the ordinance, it says inclusionary workforce housing.
Okay, thank you.
So just to reiterate, the significant changes are to remove the references to live-work units and small workforce housing developments, and then to make multifamily workforce housing and where it's permitted consistent where we currently permit multifamily housing. And again, I think the most significant part of that change is what we're proposing, what the planning board and staff is proposing, is to remove multifamily workforce housing as a permitted use in the AR1 zoning district. That was a significant piece to this amendment that we heard a lot from the public about in terms of folks not wanting really multifamily housing in the AR1 district. That's not the intent of the AR1 district. It's our most restrictive district in terms of density. And so through those discussions with the planning board and staff, we decided it was appropriate to remove that multifamily workforce housing use from the AR1 zoning district.
Kelly, last question from me on this is, do we have a definition for us and the public on what exactly is a live-work unit?
Sure. So it's essentially what it sounds like.
Just in case anyone ever
But I
actually
will-
wanted to apply
I
for
will
one,
read
even
it-
though
I
they
will
have
read
not
it
applied for
verbatim
one.
you.
I guess, the better question would be is, from many people who work from home these days, do many AR1 homes technically qualify for that or no?
Nope, so it still has to fall within the confines of workforce housing. So live-work unit would be a single unit consisting of both workspace for occupations like commerce, professional services, artisan or similar, along with a residential component that's occupied by the entrepreneur. The live-work unit shall be the primary dwelling of the occupant is intended for non-residential zones as applicable.
So people who work hybrid work or work from home completely for either tech options or anything else that they do for work, that wouldn't fall under that?
That's in commercial zones.
Nope,
though.
so
It's
this,
only commercial
again,
zones.
it's specific to non-residential zones.
Okay, thank you. Even though we had it before within AR1.
So, just so you can see. The live-work units were not permitted in AR1. They were permitted in the commercial zoning districts, industrial districts.
Gotcha, I must have heard you incorrectly. My
What I was
apologies.
referring to that was permitted in AR1 that we're proposing should no longer be is the ability to have multifamily workforce housing, which again is consistent with how we permit standard
Perfect.
market rate.
Thank you. I misheard you. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions on the inclusionary?
Yeah. Well, I just wanted a little bit of clarification. I know what AR1 is, but R3, I have no idea what that is.
So that's our multifamily
That's
residential
called
zoning
multifamily
district.
now, is R3? And GB?
Gateway business. So that's
Okay.
primarily along Pettingill Road.
Okay. And AD?
That's the airport district.
Okay. No, this should be a key.
There is
There
in
is
the zoning document.
in the correct at the bottom, and then
Don't have it here,
in the
though.
other section of the ordinance. I
You can
just
pull it
have
up online.
I just didn't have it here.
I just have the redlined amendments up for you.
All right, thank you.
You have this there, if that helps. It's on page 28 in my book. I don't know if you have that, Dave. Yeah.
Oh, duh. Okay. Sorry.
Any other question on the council on the inclusionary housing?
I do not have any.
Oh, wow. Dan does not. All right, Kelly, you want to move on to 20, removal of the Route 28 Performance Overlay District?
I'm going to
Yes.
recuse myself from this.
Okay. Let the
So
record
just-
show that Dan has recused himself.
Just so I can be clear on the inclusionary housing.
Yeah.
So the council's good with moving that to a hearing, which would be July 21st.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So the 28 overlay district, the proposal is to remove this in its entirety. And just to give a little bit more context, so the 28 Performance Overlay District is located in the Exit 5 Route 28 corridor. And this overlay district was initially adopted in 2002. And the intent in at that time was to, one, remain consistent with, again, at that time, the 1997 master plan, and to also try and deter some larger scale commercial development that the town was seeing coming down the pipeline that was really associated with the expansion of I-93. And so, again, at that time, the town decided to adopt this overlay district, which essentially imposes additional dimensional requirements, such as additional landscaping buffers, additional setback requirements based on building heights, really, again, to shrink the lots, if you will, to prevent some of that large-scale big box stores from coming in. So the intent of overlay districts by nature is to be temporary. So to have an overlay district in place for 20 plus years is really not standard practice. Again, they're intended to be temporary to address a need at that time. And so we being this town staff and the planning board have gone through this ordinance. We've gone through the exercise of doing an analysis on the lots within this overlay district and trying to determine how appropriate this overlay is at this stage. Through that analysis, we've concluded that there are not a lot of vacant lots, and any vacant lots that do exist are very, very small and unlikely to be developed. So that means that there's a great opportunity here for redevelopment. I've heard a lot, and the planning board's heard a lot from the public about the state of this corridor, and that, at least from what I've heard, they would like to see an improvement of this corridor, better use of the land that's there. And to me, and from a planning professional standpoint, that is to allow for redevelopment. And the means to do that would be to remove the overlay district in its entirety, because again, it's really not functioning anymore as it was originally intended. So we went through that process, again, with the planning board, had the discussion there, and they recommended to the council that you proceed with removing it in its entirety. So that's the amendment, is to remove it in its entirety. And so again, I can take questions, feedback that you have.
Any questions from the council?
I have more feedback than a question. I am not against removing this, but I really think that we need to have a great conversation with DOT on that road. And this is to set up businesses that decide to go there to be successful. So if we need to look at the traffic issue, if we need to take land to make those roads wider, to have easier flow in and out of the buildings on that corridor, I really think before we make like steps, I don't know if the DOT should come first. It's like the chicken and the egg, right? What should come first? I think that we really need to know what's the best plan for that road, and then turn around and say, look, now we're going to take this and widen this. Now this is all open for you to do that. Because, yeah, it is kind of a place that needs to be redeveloped. And I totally agree with you guys. I just think that we have to look at that road needs some help. And if we could start that, I don't know if anybody else agrees with me, that road should have a dialogue with DOT.
So I agree with you in principle. I think the problem is that has to get on a long-running plan that will take a long time. And right now,
I understand what you're saying, Sean, but how do you start a long-running plan? You got to start somewhere.
Oh, we've
been kicking this down the road forever.
So actually, if you don't mind, I can respond to that. That's actually really spot on with what we're intending to do.
Okay.
Right? And that is to go forward with really what we're talking about is a traffic management plan and policies.
Right.
And that involves studying specific corridors. And
Right.
typically when you do that, you look at the zoning, right?
Yeah.
Most instances, you're looking at what we call the underlying zoning. So in my opinion, now is appropriate to remove the overlay. And then again, when you, to your point, when you're doing those corridor studies, yeah, we should be relooking at the underlying zones, the commercial zones. There's some AR1 properties in there, and we should be evaluating that yet again as to whether or not those zones need to be addressed. But I really think that the first step is to get rid of this layer.
Like I said, I'm not against this, but
Yeah,
I just
think
wanted to bring out the thing that we really have to do that. because I'd hate
that's
to
exactly
see,
right. Your point is very valid.
I don't
and
want to
that's
see
how it should
somebody
be
come
done.
in and, all of a sudden we got to take the frontage. They just built this new building, and in 5
Absolutely.
years they're like, oh God, I got to move my building.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm just taking the business side for a second and saying those poor guys. But I think you're right, and I think it's good. And I know that Sean, not you, Sean, the other Sean, sorry, talked about a plan coming into place. And this is part of the strategical plan, I'm sure, along with the traffic plan. But I did want to bring that out, that maybe we could get them to come talk to us more, DOT. Because at one time, I don't know if you, some people in the room may remember, there was supposed to be a road off of Exit 5 going directly to the airport. And they had come up with like 3 plans, I think, and then we ended up shooting it down, and they got mad
That
at
was
us.
back in 2000.
I'm sorry,
That was
Ted?
back in 2000.
Yeah, so you remember that, right?
Yes, I've seen the plans, yes.
Yeah.
And to further elaborate, and I've had conversations with Kelly, I've had conversations with Sean about this. When I talk about traffic, that's one of the things I think we need to do in this town is do an analysis of how the traffic flows throughout the town and identify roads like 28 and start taking in mind and getting, as Kelly said, the right underlying zoning so we don't have those businesses building up, because that's where we're going to need more space. But we have to identify where those spots are. I think 28 is an obvious one, but there's some less obvious ones in town, and we need to have people not built up to the curb by the time we need to do something with
Well,
the road.
that's my point.
Yeah.
I mean, that would really stink if you bought a business, build all this money into it, and then,
Well, the other end is you have quite a few of these parcels along here that are so small that you can't actually build anything on.
Right.
That how the zoning is right now, it's completely detrimental to do anything.
no, I
So
agree.
it
that
makes
we need
sense to be
get
able to
rid of it.
remove this as it is. And I know when the planning board was speaking about this almost, I think, 2 years ago when I was last on the,
Yes, it was initially brought up at the planning board, I believe, in 2023.
yes, and there were many members of the public who came forth who own the parcels and said that we can't do anything with our property with how this is because of the restrictions of the building, of the width of the property that you needed to be able to have the right widths to actually even do anything for the setbacks. So I think this is a good plan to go forward to remove this.
And traffic-wise, having some commercial in that spot with an internet or interstate exit right there keeps people from going through town down our, as Tony calls them, our cow path roads down through town to get to all the stuff on 102. Instead,
Right.
they have some things up there that they can get to without
Right.
trying to travel through all
But
the
that
time.
road in and of itself
Needs
has
help, too.
major issues. I
Yes.
mean, just
Mhm.
getting in and out of the Y is, the poor Y suffers because of it. People sit there and get frustrated.
So just one more thing I wanted to point out from a procedural standpoint. So if the council's comfortable moving this to a hearing again on July 21st is the intent. It will be publicly noticed, but we also will be notifying each individual property owner within this district. That's
Good.
just good practice to do. The requirement is to notify if there's 100 or more properties within a zoning district. However, I don't think it's appropriate to not notify every property owner within the district, given that we're proposing a change to land use. So that will be followed, and they'll be notified for that public hearing.
Okay.
All right. Next item is a solar ordinance.
So the solar ordinance is an entirely new ordinance that really originated from the Utilities Committee. And it was kind of driven through their conversations as well as the town being approached by a couple of commercial developers, solar field commercial developers, I should say. So people looking to put in solar farms. And us learning that we don't have the means to respond to that necessarily because we don't have an ordinance that addresses it. So again, this is an entirely new ordinance. And it's geared towards addressing both residential solar and commercial solar, to provide regulation on those, as well as where they're permitted. So Lynn Wiles, the chair of the Utilities Committee, really drove this process, really drove this ordinance, as well as our town planner. So I was hoping to leave his expertise to have him speak to that in greater detail than I will this evening at the public hearing stage, because I think that is most beneficial to the council. But I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have initially. But again, like I say, this is an entirely new ordinance. It again addresses residential solar as well as commercial solar.
Yeah, Lynn could not be here tonight, but he will be here at the public hearing.
Okay.
So,
But like I say, if you have initial feedback or questions for me, I'm happy to.
How close are our
Good.
ordinances to other towns that have them? Because when I
question, so-
initially brought it up, there wasn't a lot when I was
So
first on the utility.
this ordinance is based on several communities that have successful solar ordinances that address, again, both residential and commercial. I believe, if I'm recalling correctly, that it's primarily based on the city of Rochester. They have a good solar ordinance. It also takes into account the state of New Hampshire model ordinance that is put out. So it's kind of trying to, the intent was to pull from those examples and modify it to what fits Londonderry. And I believe that was done here. So again, any initial feedback that you might have, happy to take it.
Was there any discussion about placement on conservation easement land? For example, there's the piece of land right over here by, off of Pillsbury that's completely clear.
So it's-
That would be probably perfect for solar, but it's under a conservation easement.
So it's where it's permitted is based on the zoning district. If there are easements associated with a particular piece of property, like that property, for example, we would need to review the terms of that easement and make a determination as to whether or not a commercial solar farm is something that was considered or is spoken to in that easement specifically. So really, I think to answer your question, it would be
Or even within a large-scale residential, if residential owned that much land and they wanted to put that much solar on.
so the ordinance has specific requirements for AR1 properties and what's permitted. So residential solar, like ground-mounted rooftop solar, things that you would normally see in the AR1 zone, the residential zone.
Yes.
And then with respect to the commercial solar farms, those are addressed in our non-residential zones.
And I think it's good practice. They say not farms, not to solarize farmlands or any lands that could be used for the environment. It's better to put it over cement or parking lots and things like that. And it's just kind of a good
I
environment.
mean, I've seen many farmlands
I
where
understand,
solar is
but
put on
the
top
big
of what's
push-
being
well,
produced.
if it's contaminated, yeah, but.
So
I've seen many farmlands where they grow underneath of the solar panels.
Really? I've never seen that.
And so again, so the expectation with a commercial scale solar would be a site plan.
Yeah.
And so we would conduct our standard review
Right.
process for that.
Yeah.
And again, like I say, whether it be a residential parcel or commercial or other non-residential zone, if there were legal documents, easements that were associated with those specific parcels, then of course we would have to review that like we do in any other scenario, and ensure that we're adhering to the terms of those easements.
Any other questions on the solar?
Thank you.
We're good moving it forward?
Mhm.
Yep. Okay. Next up is definition of an abutter.
So this is, again, amending the definition of a butter. This is kind of two-part. The state legislature made a statutory change to the definition, but I guess a year ago at this point, which essentially changed the state law definition of a butter, which is the definition that the town of Londonderry currently uses and refers to. The state expanded that definition to include adjacent properties. And so through discussions at the planning board and with town staff, and I think this actually came to you maybe again a year ago, the town of Londonderry felt, the planning board and town staff felt that we should expand that definition further. And I'll just read it so that everyone can fully grasp it here. But to state, in addition to the definition set forth in RSA 672:3, a butter shall include properties within 400 feet of the property for which an application is pending before the town council, planning board, or zoning board of adjustment, as determined using the abutter tool in the town's GIS system. In any case where the town of Londonderry is an abutter, a butter shall also include all abutters to the parcel or parcels owned by the town of Londonderry using both statutory definition and the 400-foot measurement set forth above. A butter shall be indicated as a defined term where it appears in the Londonderry zoning ordinance, site plan regulations, and subdivision regulations. So essentially what we said was, we want to make sure that we're notifying in a radius that makes sense, if you will. Because a good example of abutters not being notified, where you would think that they should be, is when you have a town right-of-way splitting or separating what you would think is an abutter from the property being developed or that has a proposed development on it. So right now, as it stands, if you have a parcel that's got proposed development on it, and then you have a right-of-way immediately abutting it, and then you have another parcel that's owned by someone, that someone wouldn't technically receive a notice because they're not directly abutting that proposed development lot, if that makes sense. So we're trying to address that. We're trying to make sure that we're capturing the appropriate radius for the abutter notification, which again is expanding beyond the statutory requirement.
I just used the abutter tool on our GIS. It's very nice. Are we able to actually set it to 400 because it started at 300?
Yep, I believe we have the ability to do that, and to that point, Ted, I can tell you that right now, for the most part, when we have applicants generating their abutter list, they already use that GIS tool and they're already providing us that 300 foot, because to your point, that already automatically generates. And so typically they're exceeding that requirement. So some questions were raised in terms of like a cost to an applicant, right? Because you're expanding who they have to notify or the radius that they have to notify. From what I've seen so far, they're really already covering that 300-foot radius, again, because our GIS tool already automatically does that. So,
well, now it's 400, right? Compared to 300.
I believe that we have the ability to
make it a
adjust
standard.
the tool to automatically go to 400. But
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool how it shows the radius, and it's not just the people on your street or one more over you thought it would be. It's then a bit more than that because, they're not a direct abutter. It's very nice to see.
So it does it circular-like,
Mhm.
even behind? That's nice.
Any other questions? We're good moving it forward? All right. All right. Next up, old business. Discussion of the feasibility of impact fee ordinance.
Working on it.
Good.
What page is, do you know what page it is?
It's almost always bad.
Okay. So this item is a result of some discussion that the council has had in prior meetings, that being impact fees. So in your packet, you'll see a memo from legal counsel that essentially outlines the statutory process for how to go about implementing impact fees. So just to be a little bit brief, I'm not going to read the whole memo, but impact fees are a tool authorized under state law that allow municipalities to assess new development for its proportional share of capital facility costs, such as schools, roads, fire protection, and recreation, needed to accommodate growth. Fees must be assessed in accordance with locally adopted ordinance and based on documented methodology. So the intention of this item is to have the council discuss and provide direction that authorizes the town manager to start to develop that impact fee ordinance and then an implementation plan for your consideration in the future. So we're not looking to have a discussion about what impact fees are or aren't and costs associated with each potential fee. What we're looking for is the council's consensus as to how you want town staff, that being the town manager, to proceed with, again, developing that draft ordinance and an implementation plan.
Any questions from the council? Any discussion? So tonight, we're not voting on impact fees, yes or no. We're voting if we want the town manager to move forward with basically finding a plan for us and then bringing it back to us to discuss.
So I feel like the proper way, this is the problem when we get a concept, throw it out there, that's going to solve a bunch of problems, but we don't have anything on the CIP that we'd apply to this. So it's hard to envision how to go forward without having an end in mind. And until we have something, I think that'd be the proper time to do that then and when something applies. Because impact fees is always a good funding mechanism specifically for certain things. But we don't have any of those certain things, so it's hard to tailor it. It's hard to write a policy to just kind of guess at what we might want when we have that CIP project.
The other end is we don't have the money for this right now. We would have to go forward with our budget process and project out what kind of costs this may entail upon the town for our consultants and their various fees for developing this whole study, and if this would even be logical or not for us to move forward with.
Yeah, I don't want to spend money until we have something to spend money for.
Mm-hmm.
So my 2 cents is, I understand you don't want to spend money, but we don't have to spend money. We just need to figure out what are the tools, and I'll use the planning board term, what are the tools we want in our tool belt ready and prepared to be able to use when a situation arrives that we need to use them on. Yeah, it might not be this year that anything's on the CIP, but it could be next year. And then we have to start all over and we haven't got it done. And maybe there's a whole bunch more stuff out there. So if we have time and we can kind of put it together, and I believe the town manager has already done it up in Lebanon, he uses everything. He said we should have everything in our tool belt. And that includes, something that Kevin earlier went through, which was, extraction, I can't say the word, extraction fees, impact fees, TIF districts. He used one that I didn't know what it was, but off-site plans. And we should have property management, property agreements. So all of them should be there and in place if and when we need them. So starting a dialogue isn't a big deal, I don't think, and I don't think it should cost anything. And to me, we haven't had something like this in a very long time to be able to do. And other towns are doing it, and they don't seem to have a problem. They have it in their tool belt so that they're ready to act on things when things arrive.
I guess I don't think the ramp up is that long. I mean, let's say we have a capital improvement project next year to say, let's expand 28. Let's pick a road, and that's probably a bad example, but let's just say that comes up and we can use it with impact fees. I think developing it then, those projects don't happen overnight. We have time to have a first and second reading of a hearing, get an impact fee structure, and then we'd at least know tailored what we're voting on instead of just going, we'll do impact fees sometime for something. That's a harder policy to craft, and I feel less confident in voting on something nebulous than I do something specific.
So I guess my justification to you, Sean, is how do all these other towns have it in place, sitting and waiting, and we can't?
Because they've had applications for it. We've been burned.
We haven't
and got
have
it taken
any
away.
because we had people who
Yeah,
didn't
mismanaged
manage
them.
the fees correctly. That's not our fault.
Correct, but
And
we have
so-
nothing in CIP currently that we
Well-
could use it for.
I think before we further go down this rabbit hole, I'd like to take councilor privilege and wait for our town manager to come back to speak
Okay.
fully
Fair enough.
on this
Yeah.
subject,
Fair enough.
along with Kelly's
Fair enough.
expertise
So let the
on
record
it.
show that Ted has invoked council privilege. This will be put off to the next meeting when the town manager is here.
Okie dokie. Where are we? Closed.
Next item up under old business is planned urban development, discussion of the PUD.
Well, I think we've discussed this before.
If I,
Oh, great. No, let her- yeah.
just to
Yeah.
try and keep this to the point. So yes, Councilor Bouchard, like you were saying, the council's discussed this several times. And what we're looking for, what the town manager is ultimately looking for, is for the council to provide some direction in terms of what you would like to see with respect to the PUD ordinance, so planned unit development ordinance. There have been 3 options outlined for you. And if you give me a second, I'll pull them up. But essentially, it is to take no action, to determine that you want to amend the ordinance. So that would be directing the town manager to come up with or propose amendments to the current PUD ordinance. And then follow our process again as outlined in the zoning ordinance, that being the draft amendments go to the planning board for their review and recommendation to you, the council, and then the council holds a first reading and public hearing. Same process as we're doing for the amendments that I spoke about earlier. And then the third option is determining that you want to rescind the ordinance in its entirety. And just so that everyone understands, each of these items, or really I should say motion 2 and motion 3 that are up on the screen, require you to follow, again, that process that's outlined in our zoning ordinance. Like I said, that being going to the planning board for a recommendation to the town council and then a first reading and a hearing. So if you decide that you want to amend the ordinance as is outlined in motion 2, goes to the planning board, then back to you. If you decide you want to rescind the ordinance, goes to the planning board for their comment on that, and then back to you to formally act on that. So I just wanted to make that clear because I think it might be a little confusing if you say you're looking to rescind the ordinance. You're not actually rescinding it tonight. You're saying that's what the council wants to do, is rescind it, and then it goes again back to the planning board and follows that process. And lastly, I should note that motion 2, where we're talking about the amendments, what I did to get to that, this brief, if you will, these focus areas, I guess I'll call them, is I took the feedback that I received from the council, which was really Councilor Paul, and included, per your recommendation, the comments from, I believe it was Mr. Robichek, to try and capture those specific areas to amend. So that's how that motion with the amendments came to be.
And when it is in the second one there, as we're fixing it, is it temporarily like rescinded, or people can use it while we're fixing it?
So motion 2 is to direct the town manager to come up with draft amendments to the ordinance based on what I've outlined, just focusing on those particular areas. And the current ordinance remains in effect until those amendments are reviewed and adopted, or not adopted. by the town council.
So Kelly, can you rescind it and rework it? Can we say, all right, we want to rescind it, but we're going to rework it to benefit the town of Londonderry, not the developer?
So you're either doing nothing, you're directing the town manager to draft amendments and follow our process, or you're directing the town manager that you want to rescind it, and then again, following that review process that's outlined in our ordinance. There is no rescind it and do something, I mean, it's you're rescinding it or you're not. It's not, there's no in between, I guess.
So if we rescind it, we can't rework it. You're saying it's dead. Is that what
You
you're
can,
saying?
but I'm saying, then it's rescinded, and that's that. You can, of
So
course,
that
bring it back,
version is
but
rescinded. Is that what you
is
mean?
rescinded.
That version is rescinded. We can still create a
Well,
better version.
What you would technically be doing at that point is, if you decide that you want to move forward with rescinding it, you're removing the ordinance in its entirety. And then if you wanted to bring it back, what you'd be doing is you'd be proposing a new ordinance technically,
And starting from scratch.
and starting from scratch. Versus motion 2 is talking about utilizing the existing ordinance that we have and proposing amendments like that.
It just seems odd to me that if you're fixing something like your car, if they say to you, you got a, I don't know, bad brakes, right? You got to come and get it fixed. So the PUD's got bad brakes. You wouldn't drive home with the bad brakes. You'd leave the car there, fix it. Once it's fixed, you take it out of the shop and go. I mean,
I'm not saying anything to you other than these are your three options.
There's no
and
other
it's up
option?
to you to decide what you want to do. I'm just explaining to you that 2 and 3 require us to follow our process as outlined in the zoning ordinance. That being, going to the planning board to receive their feedback and then coming back to you for you to make the final decision. That's my point. So whatever you want to do,
This
these
would
are the
be
three
like any
options.
other state law that is currently under existence.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
then someone may want to, next year or the following year, want to make amendments to or changes to. Up until that point that it's actually voted upon by the House and Senate and Governor, you can still do whatever is required under that state law. Just because something's being talked about doesn't mean that you can't qualify and do what you want under the existing zoning until that's finally changed.
So my point, Ted, is that it needs work. It needs some work.
Maybe.
It has, some flaws. I'm just trying to figure out how you do that. I mean, do you just go to number 2, or do you go to number 3 and then rework it, like fresh, like you said? I don't know.
I'm in favor of number 2.
I also am in favor of number 2. I think it needs to be reworked.
Yeah.
And I think that we have. I think it needs to less ambiguity in there. I mean, it needs to be reworked to certain things, but I think I'm also in favor of motion 2. I want to.
I will make a motion to direct the town manager to move to have the drafts amended. Kelly, do you want me to read this whole section for number 2?
Motion 2.
I could read the whole thing
Up to you.
if you want me to.
I would read the
Whatever
whole
your
thing.
pleasure. It's up to you.
I can make the motion. I'll make a motion to direct the town manager to draft amendments. So I move that the town council direct the town manager to prepare draft amendments to the planned unit development ordinance and proceed in accordance with the process outlined in section 8.6 of the Londonderry zoning ordinance. The proposed amendments should address the following: clarify the purpose and objectives of the ordinance to support housing diversity, infrastructure efficiency, and environmental protection. Amend the review process to include enhanced public participation through multiple public meetings and hearings. Establish clear, measurable development standards for open space, affordable housing, mixed-use development, and environmental protections, and strengthen the criteria and justification required for any modifications or waivers to ordinance standards.
Second.
Motion by Sean, second by Ted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
Chair votes in the affirmative.
So I get 4-1?
Yeah.
Even though those were all my changes.
Approval of minutes. Any changes in the minutes? I will accept the motion to accept June 16, 2025, Town Council minutes.
So moved.
Moved by Ted,
Second.
second by Dan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain.
Sean abstains. Chair votes in the affirmative. Liaison reports. No, I don't have it here.
Ted, do we have to do the non-public ones as well? Separate non-public ones?
We don't have to do them necessarily this
Yeah,
meeting.
don't
We
have to do it
can get
today.
clarification and do it in a
All right,
different meeting.
all right.
Mr. Chair,
Yep.
they've appended, they're now appended to the actual minutes, so when you approve the minutes, you're approving all the minutes.
Okay.
Oh.
So that's
perfect.
why the non-public minutes are appended.
Thank you.
Perfect.
And redacted as necessary when there's.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Kirsten.
Awesome. Liaison reports.
I went to the Airport Board Authority meeting back in June. Things are going quite well at the airport. They're expanding routes when they can. They're trying to get more routes, obviously, as much as they can. They don't plan any future runway construction like they've done in the past 2-3 years, where it rerouted some of the airlines. So the only major items they're looking at doing is IT and teledata upgrades throughout the airport. Those are the major items that they're looking at. There's one section of internal runway area that they're going to have to be repaving, but it shouldn't be rerouting planes around like they had done in the past few years. But everything's going great at the airport, and they're very excited for JetBlue to have their JFK connection. That'll really open up a lot of doors for them, and things are going well.
Excellent. Any other reports? Liaison reports? All right.
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Of course.
Got it typed out.
ZBA is doing a great job. With they had limited members. And after tonight, they have a full committee now. Senior Resource, I did not attend the meeting, but I watched it, and they are planning on their Old Home Day involvement. And they're going to have more members now, which is great. Library. Library's been a very popular thing on your emails, my emails, online. There's a lot of misinformation going out there. And one of the biggest misinformation is that trustees stated that I was biased towards the library because my wife works there. I'm just going to make it very clear to the public. My wife does not work at the library. My wife has never worked at the library. My wife has never volunteered at the library. Okay? So I have volunteered to be the liaison to the library because she loves the library. And so there's ongoing issues there with trustees and with staff. We tried to, Sean and I offered to do a mediation with
Sean
them.
Mulholland.
Yeah, not you. The town manager. We thought we were all on track, but Sunday night they canceled it before on Monday. So they have, they're in contact now with an attorney and speaking with their attorney on what they want to do. Old Home Day. I know Old Home Day is important for us to be there. I have a conflict. I don't know how you guys feel. I have my 50th high school reunion up in northern Maine, which is 8 hours away on a drive. So are you guys okay if I don't come to Old Home Day this year?
How fast is your car?
You want to borrow mine?
You know, unless you have a plane, I can. It's actually on Saturday, our reunion, 50 years. So, if you're okay with me skipping Old Home Day,
Yeah, that's a special thing.
you know.
You just have to do extra work during the week.
Okay. All right.
I'll get my Dan costume out.
All right. Thank you. So now I can plan on it because I didn't know what to do.
Why stand so tall this year?
You know, just wanted to run it by everybody just to make sure. And that's it for my typed information.
I can just not diet.
Assistant Town Manager report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as you're well aware, the town manager has taken a pre-planned vacation, so I've assumed his responsibilities. So we're continuing to move forward with town hall business. A couple items of note would be that we're trying to get the engineering position that's been vacant for some time now revised and posted. And we're also looking to move forward with the fire chief position posting. Separate from that, we have several meetings this week. Tomorrow night is CIP, where Recreation will be providing a brief presentation on their proposal. Wednesday night is the planning board, and Thursday night is an EPA public meeting that is specifically talking about the Tinkham site. So just put that on your radar. That's all happening this week, and I will be at all those meetings. And then lastly, a preview for July and August. So I'll just highlight a couple of items here. So July, you'll have the hearings on several of the first readings that we had this evening. So the veterans tax credit, and then the zoning amendments. And then another one I'll highlight is getting to talk about what Councilor Paul mentioned earlier, that being the strategic plan for the town. So a lot of important items to discuss at our next meeting. And then in July, again, another hearing. The discussion about the Old Derry Road water line extension. We did have a site visit on that. I believe Councilor Paul and Bouchard attended that. So some things have changed with that, which is why it was pushed to August. The primary change being the location of that site potentially. So we'll get into that in August. And then also we have some matters to clean up with respect to the TIF district plan. And then related to that, establishing a TIF advisory board. So that's kind of a preview for you for what we have for our next meeting and then first meeting in August. And that's all I have for now.
Thank you.
I like that preview stuff.
It's nice.
Yeah.
Well, and the way, just to kind of get to your point that you raised earlier about your rules. So the reason we're able to do this projection, this preview, is because we follow that 10-day requirement.
Thank you.
I'll open it up for public comment.
Oh, Tony D.
How are you, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Tony D. Francesco, 1 Cheshire. So when you're talking about the PUDs, the one thing that wasn't mentioned tonight that you have to be careful of is if you cancel the PUD today, which you didn't do, but if you did, for example, everything that's in the pipeline is grandfathered, including, and the one that's in the caseload of the RSA book that we get at the planning board and planning directors and all have. When you look at the caseload, there's a pretty good sized case in there from a town that canceled their PUD because an applicant came in for discussion, and the town subsequently canceled their PUD, did away with it, said, "Oh, sorry, you can't do it. You didn't apply in time." Well, guess what the court said? The court said, Tough Noogies Town, they can build it because clearly you canceled it because they came in for discussion and you didn't want it. And you can't do that. That's in the case law, so be careful of that. And understand that's one of the things that you're working on when whether you're going to cancel it or not cancel, whatever you're going to do, be careful of the case law that's out there so that you don't step on your tongue. So,
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Anyone else with public comment? How are you, sir?
How are you? Jake Butler, 2 Danbury Court. I couldn't get here a little bit earlier. Sorry about that. I just wanted to clarify on the, we'll call it the Page Road discussion there. I don't think it was fully understood, maybe not by the board, but to the public, that what was proposed to you tonight was different than what the board had ultimately agreed on. The applicant had added some additional verbiage, you could call it, and said, hey, would you do this instead of what the planning board had recommended. The planning board's recommendation was in line with the fire department, which is why the fire department was supporting it. We did have conversation of, I think really the only place that the board and the department may have veered off was where does the, what is it, 1,200 feet for a turnaround? Where does the 1,200 feet start? You know, we as a board ultimately chose a specific location that, for reference, we were saying was the old barn on Page Road. The reason for that is because that was the starting point of Jack's Bridge Road, or the ending point, depending on which way you want to look at it. We went with that because the house was on Jack's Bridge Road, so we were trying to keep it consistent, though I can completely understand why the fire department would want to go from Page Road and, who was that, Lucas? So just wanted to clarify that what was presented tonight was not necessarily what the planning board had agreed on. I don't think that was fully communicated, so I want to make sure it was. Irregardless, if you do approve what the planning board had agreed on, I'm not going to say they can't, but there's a very good chance that landowner will not be able to meet those requirements that the fire department and the planning board agreed on, just based off of the math of they have more than 1,200 feet to work with. The abutting landowners are not willing to give any sort of easement, so it kind of dies on the vine right there. So even if you do approve it based off of what the board had discussed, I would be very surprised if you saw any movement on any sort of development of a house on that lot. Any questions? Deb, you are right. There was a Brewster Road a long time ago. That must have been 5 or 6 years ago now, probably. Similar situation that ultimately did not get approved. You know, it's one of those things, it's kind of too bad, because you want to help out the single homeowner, but at the same time,
You want to do the right thing.
you want to do the right thing, but the right thing's the wrong thing, and the wrong thing's the right thing, you know? So we did have one, I think it was 5 or 6 years ago on Brewster, that did ultimately get denied. I think I believe I'm trying to go on the Wayback Machine here, but I believe the recommendation was very similar to what we saw.
They wanted them
for
to do
this.
the whole road.
Correct. Yeah, it was the entirety of the road.
'Cause
Very
the
similar to
same
what we
thing,
saw.
they would get stuck in the mud, or the
Correct.
snowbanks, and
Correct.
there wouldn't be a lot of negotiation for the multiple vehicles going
Correct.
down there.
So very similar. I think that's all I have for you.
Thank you,
So,
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else with public comment? How are you, sir?
Hey there, John Farrell, 4 Hancock Drive. So at the last meeting, I talked about moments of silence and how we did them for 20 years. Over the last few days, Petty Officer Scott Rusnick, he's a U.S. Coast Guard rescue swimmer. He rescued 165 people in the recent Texas floods. These are the people who make it possible to have these meetings. I implore you to re-implement the moment of silence. Thank you.
Anybody else with public comment? Seeing that, I will close public comment.
Motion to adjourn.
I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Sean, second by Ted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes in the affirmative. Thank you.